What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 7sh Chapter 166, Shunfeng Cook, Observation Haki Awakens. Advertisement. Shad Lemon, one of the 4 God-tier officers. He never thought that he would encounter such a situation, that he would become someone else's training tool. But watching the tunnel being punched out in the forest, Shadley still decided to fight for a chance of life for herself. Zoro and Sanji looked at Shadley disdainfully. This kind of thing can also improve our strength. Sanji lit a cigarette and jumped straight into the forest. Green algae, leave this guy to me, don't do it. Zoro didn't say anything, just sat on the deck holding a knife to prove his attitude. Luffy didn't object either. After all, the two of them after Marine 6 Styles training were really bullying. Even with the precognition bonus of the mind net, the gap in physical skills is enough to make Shadley overwhelmed. Sanji kicked Shadley first. However, Shadley sneered. Kick with the upper part of the right foot. Turned sideways to dodge Sanji's attack in advance. At this time, Sanji called out the name of the move, Shiro. But at this moment, Shadley's palms tied with Shokbi were already placed in front of Sanji. Impossible. This guy actually predicted my movements. Sanji looked at this strange chubby guy in shock, and in the next second a shock shot out from Shadley's hand, knocking Sanji into the air. Nani? Zoro frowned and looked at Shadley, as if he didn't expect Sanji to lose so easily for the first time. Seeing this, Shadley's face showed joy again. Can win. As long as this man abides by the agreement, he can live. Ha 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 ha. Shadley jumped up and down on the cloud ball excitedly. Sanji got up from the ground and wiped his nosebleed. Do you have any skills? Then Sanji made a good move and sent a tempest kick directly towards Shadley. However, after Sanji finished attacking, it was discovered that Shadley had jumped out of the spot ahead of time. Advertisement. Aha. This is actually a fake move, deliberately arousing my vigilance. The real attack is behind. Shadley's ball-like body slammed down, and Sanji, who ran behind Shadley, kicked the air again. Nani? How is it possible? Sanji looked at Shadley in horror at this moment. How would you know my movements? Shadley jumped up and down proudly. This is a skill-hard network that can only be obtained through continuous practice. You rookies like you will not know it. Said Shadley's palm pressed to Sanji again. And Sanji also knew that the guy's attack came from the palm, so he dodged the attack with a Thomas spin. With a bang, a big hole was punched out of an ancient tree with a diameter of several meters. Damn it, what kind of attack is this? Why does it look like finger pistol? Sanji looked at Dedong and frowned. It will hurt if you get knocked down. Shock shells are air cannons generated by vibrations. Even Luffy's rubber body can't completely ignore the shock shell blows, it can only be said to be immune to most damage. If Sanji was hit at this time, although it would not be fatal, it would still be quite painful. Hey, Sanji, our time is limited. If you can't defeat this guy before Fengwei leaves the Forest of Mysteries, you will be trapped here. Luffy shouted to Sanji below with a smile on the boat. The Forest of Mysteries is run through by a river of clouds, although it is curved, it leads directly to the next trial. Zoro also mocked on the boat. Do you want me to help you? If I make a move, I will definitely be able to cut down this tumbler. Sanji was furious when he heard the words, and yelled at Zoro, I don't want your help. Then he turned his head to look at Shadley. Damn guy, it makes people angry just looking at it. Tempest kicked chaos. I saw Sanji slashing countless slashes towards Shadley with his feet. But Shadley walked through the cracks of the slashes with a sensitivity that didn't match his fat body at all. Ahaha, it's useless, I know all your attacks well, and your current attack can't hit me. Shadley jumped up and down triumphantly and appeared in front of Sanji again, and directly knocked him flying with an impact. Sanji. Nami looked worried at Sanji who was already vomiting blood, and she asked Luffy incomprehensibly, you can beat him easily, why do you have to let Sanji do it? Luffy explained to Nami seriously, I am a god, and I am destined to be tolerated by those ignorant human beings. As my believers, you will definitely be threatened by evil enemies in the future, so I want to improve your strength as much as possible. Let you have the ability to be unique. Advertisement. Nami. Boom. Speak English. Well, that is, I have a group of powerful enemies, and I am worried that they will retaliate against you, and I can't be by your side forever, so I have to find a way to make you stronger. Luffy coughed twice and explained. Nami looked at Luffy suspiciously. Based on your identity, would anyone dare to fight against you? It's this identity that is the biggest problem, okay. Luffy muttered. At this moment Sanji swore that he had never had such an aggrieved fight. No matter what moves I use, the opponent can easily dodge, and no matter how I dodge, the opponent can always wait for me at the position I am about to reach. It was as if his own face was coming up to hit the opponent. Obviously, in terms of physical fitness alone, he is stronger than the opponent, but every time he fights, he gets kicked out. At this time, Sanji and Shadley's shocking beating were covered with bruises. Ahaha, I think you just admit defeat honestly, you can't beat me. Sadly proudly jumped up and down on the balls. Sanji lowered his head, Nuo's Jiao, so that the expression on his face could not be seen clearly, only he lowered his head to light a cigarette and took a deep breath. A hint of surprise flashed in Luffy's eyes on the gondola. Is this the highest masterpiece of Germa 66? It's only been a month since I came into contact with Marine 6 Styles, right? Sadly looked at Sanji, who had no intention of admitting defeat, and a trace of impatience flashed in his eyes. If that's the case, then die as your captain said. Sadly rushed to Sanji again, but this time Sanji didn't raise his head immediately. Instead, he stood there without moving. Nani, did you give up resistance? Sadly looked at Sanji's brows and frowned, but pressed the shock shell in his hand towards Sanji without any hesitation. However, at the moment when Sanji was about to be hit by the shock shell, Sanji lowered his head slightly to the side, and instantly dodged the attack. Observation Haki. Wake up. Advertisement Chapter 167. Enel appears. Sandia attacks. Advertisement. Sadly was a little confused. He didn't even feel any evasive thoughts from Sanji's mind. And Sanji actually dodged his own attack. It must be a coincidence. Sadly patted Sanji again in disbelief. However, Sanji still hides lightly. Luffy smiled crookedly. The so-called early observation Haki relies on the body to automatically form an instinctive response to avoid attacks. Luffy's clearest display came during his 2 years of training with Rayleigh. The paper arts in Marine 6 styles is a weakened version of observation Haki. Dodge the attack by feeling the airflow from the attack with the skin. So when Sanji found that all his actions were predicted by the enemy, he tried to use paper arts to feel Sadly's attack. It took Sanji less than 2 hours from the initial conscious dodge to the final natural dodge relying on body instinct. If a famous teacher Rayleigh sees it, he will definitely call an expert. At this time, Sanji directly emptied his mind, no longer thinking about how to dodge in his mind, and let his body dodge the attack by itself. 037 And from this moment on Sadly was completely unable to hit Sanji once. To put it bluntly, although the 4 priests have turned on observation Haki, their knowledge are more inclined to be connected to Enel's heart network, and their strength is entirely dependent on Enel's heart network field. Once the heart network fails, they are at best the little guys in New World who have just realized the color of knowledge. And Luffy saw Sanji's awakening and directly used the superpower of electromagnetic waves to connect Sanji with the heart network built by Enel with observation Haki. Suddenly, Sadly's voice reached Sanji's head. Create a riot by attacking the cloud and run away. Sanji was taken aback at first, then looked at Sadly strangely. You want to run away? Ahaha, how could I run away? I'm going to kill you too soon. In the next second, Sadly kicked directly towards the cloud ball under his feet. However, under Sadly's bewildered eyes, her chubby face directly bumped into Sanji's feet. Show meat. Kick. Advertisement. Bang. Sadly didn't even have a chance to scream, her nose got stuck and she was kicked out. Okay, win. Usopp yelled at Sanji happily. Sanji showed a smug expression towards Zoro, and the next second, he passed out directly. Ah, Sanji is dead. Doctor. Where is the doctor? Chopper looked at Sanji, who passed out, and screamed. Usopp reminded speechlessly. Aren't you? Chopper suddenly came to his senses. Ah, yes. I'm a doctor. Immediately, he took out the medical bag he was carrying and started diagnosing Sanji. The injury is so serious. The face is fractured, and more than one rib is broken. Chopper hurriedly gave Sanji emergency treatment. As for doing this, Nami asked Luffy, looking at Sanji with some unbearable pain. You look down on them too much. Look at Zoro, he guesses that he would be the one lying on the boat. Luffy pursed her lips and said. Nami turned around and found that Zoro was looking at Sanji enviously. Because he knows Sanji and awakened the observation Haki in the Conqueror's Haki that Luffy once told himself. That is a magical skill that can directly dodge the attack without thinking and relying on instinct. After this perverted cook awakened observation Haki, even his own slashes might not be able to cut him. Zoro held Hidao in front of him with some reluctance, and sat up cross-legged. Don't you need to cut down the slash? Zoro started the training of Kenshin. At this time, the gondola was about to sail out of the Lost Forest. And at this moment, a Biek guy wearing an aviator hat and a leather jacket rode a big bird and flew towards the crowd. Sure enough, Sadly's heart net has disappeared. I didn't expect the invaders this time to be quite tricky. Shira, one of the god-tier officers, said while riding on the giant bird and staring at everyone. Hey, there's another kid here. Zoro excitedly stood up and looked at Shira. Advertisement. Little boy. Shira was furious when he heard the words, I am the priest in charge of the trial of rope, with a survival rate of 3%, Shira. If it weren't for that idiot Gaidaz to solve the group of Sandian gorillas, this kind of thing is not in my turn to try. 3%. Usopp looked at Shira riding a 3-foot bird in shock. It's scary. Haha, are you afraid? If you are afraid, obediently don't resist, so that you can suffer less. Shira looked at Usopp's cowardly look and laughed. I saw the Sanjong bird suddenly opened its mouth and spewed out a flame towards the ship. Nani, how does this bird breathe fire? Usopp was taken aback. Seeing this, Zoro frowned, holding a word in his hand and ready to strike. Suddenly a shell hit, and the flames were scattered away with a bang. A shout of surprise came out. A strange laughter suddenly reached everyone's ears. Wearing glasses, the praying mantis comically asked in a low voice to the female warrior lackey, is this the descendant of the legendary Nolando? Don't pay attention to this, Luffy waved his hand, how can we brothers be so alien? Let's break through a Pyado together. Subdue Enel. Ring the golden bell. Usopp asked quietly. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice strangely, but saw countless Sandia warriors stepping on cloud shoes, rushing towards them stepping on the cloud river. At this time, the little girl Aisha who was following Lucky looked at Luffy with a look of horror on her face. In her eyes, who was born with observation haki, the terrifying aura emanating from Luffy made her feel suffocated. Brother! Weber shouted excitedly. Good. Hey, Luffy, isn't this the native you fooled? Immediately, a flash of thunder flashed, and the god Enel appeared in front of everyone with a drum beating on his back and a golden stick in his hand. Weber couldn't contain his excitement when he heard the words. He blamed himself and said to Luffy, I'm sorry that I originally planned to ring the golden bell before my brother arrived, but I didn't expect it to be a step too late. Lucky rolled his eyes. How would I know? What do you mean by flickering? Luffy gave Usopp a blank look, then immediately changed his face excitedly and turned his head to greet Weber. Hey brother. We are here for the appointment. Yeah ha ha ha, I didn't expect you all to come together, it seems that it saved me a lot of effort. Headed by the tribal leader Weber, Straw Hat Crew and the Sandia warriors behind him were shocked. Advertisement Chapter 168 Enel, I am your long-lost brother. Advertisement. Yahahaha, do you know that you have committed a first-degree crime now? Attacking the priest means provoking me and declaring war on me, the god. Enel looked at Luffy, Weber and others proudly. It's really stupid for the former god to break the oath for you. Yahahaha. The previous generation of gods. Is there still a new generation of gods? Nami looked at Enel strangely when he heard it, so this is God. The ears are so big tilde operator. Ganfer. Luffy looked at Zhang Er's Enel laughed. After all, Enel is just a little boy who was oppressed by the people of Burka Sky Island because he had no wings. When he first came to the Kingdom of Gods, Enel did not kill all the previous gods due to Ganfort's initiative to abdicate. And this time, for some unknown reason, Ganfort entered Arpahado again and was bumped by Enel. Luffy is oblivious to the, what reason, conus around him. Enel is a guy who came to the Kingdom of Gods 6 years ago. He challenged the gods, won the war with absolute strength, and became a new generation of gods. Weber explained to Nami. Huh, the gods can be challenged. Nami suddenly became mad when he heard the words, what kind of god is this? Isn't this the king of the country? The king. According to what you Qinghai people say, you can say the same. Weber nodded. Enel standing on the treetop was not happy anymore, he frowned and retorted loudly to Nami, I am a god. The omniscient and omnipotent kind. Oh, this guy is Logia's strongest Thunder Fruit Devil ability user, he can read your thoughts with electromagnetic waves. Luffy explained, pointing to Enel. Unanimously, Zoro and others said to Enel in their minds, silly. Enel was furious instantly. Are you bastards looking for death? Zoro and the others suddenly showed surprised expressions. Sure enough. I can really hear it. Luffy. Are you idiots? Rice wife. Enel slashed at Zoro and the others from the wrist that transformed into a straight line of thunder. Nani. What is this? Nami screamed and hid behind Luffy. Advertisement. Zoro frowned, drew out his knife and wanted to chop it. But Luffy pressed it down. Hey, hey. Are you an idiot? This is Ray, you cut it with a knife. Luffy stepped forward, hardened his armed arm, and scattered Enel's lightning strike with a wave. What? Enel changed his calm before and looked at Luffy in surprise, what was that just now? Hearing this, Luffy opened her arms and said to Enel with a smile on her face, I am your big brother, my stupid Odudo. Enel's face changed drastically when he heard this. You are the guy who invaded the Heart Network. Hey, how do you talk? What is invasion? That is the telepathy between our two brothers plus Luffy said to Enel with a smile. The Sandia warrior Weber and others behind him were dumbfounded after hearing this. Is this guy Enel's brother? Luffy then retells the story of the family he made up that accidentally lost Enel on Sky Island Burka during the voyage, and because he didn't have wings and was blinded by eyes, everyone looked at it with sympathy for a while. Enel. Enel's head was full of black lines. You're courting death. I'm not your brother. Enel shouted angrily. Million-volt discharge. A thunderbolt shot towards Luffy. You child, why don't you believe in evil? Luffy said helplessly. He stretched out his right hand, and the lightning flashed, and the same bolt of lightning collided with Enel's discharge and disappeared. It was only then that Enel remembered that this guy seemed to be able to use the ability of lightning. But the Sandians do not know. They looked at Luffy in shock. Is this guy really Enel's big brother? Only Straw Hat Crew had black lines all over his head, and everyone who came with him knew that Luffy was the serious grandson of Garp. Even Enel looked at Luffy suspiciously. Could this guy be telling the truth? And when he was in Burka, it was true that he was abused by the people of Sky Island because he had no wings and was more like a Qinghai native. After all, those who can go to Sky Island are basically vicious pirates who don't care about their lives. Every time a Qinghai person appears, they will burn, kill and loot Sky Island. People from Sky Island in Burka naturally don't want to see Enel who looks like Qinghai people. Advertisement. Little do they know that these are all Luffy's ignorance. After all, with Oda's old thief's style of painting, although Enel's childhood is not explained, almost all villains have 2 stages of blackening and whitewashing in the formation of their characters. Therefore, it is absolutely impossible for Enel to destroy his hometown, Sky Island Burka, for no reason. After all, during the 6 years of Enel's administration, all the pirates who came from Qinghai to try to hunt for treasure were attacked. Asking for flowers. As for the Sky Islanders, Enel seldom takes action on his own unless he commits a treasonous act like Conus. Even the former gods abdicated on their own initiative, Enel has never hunted down for no reason in the past 6 years. I just nod apples every day, waiting for the priests to build the Ark motto in an attempt to fly to the moon. A person with this kind of personality is likely to be implicated by the racial hatred of the Sky Islanders towards the Qinghai pirates when Doflamingo was a child, which made him destroy his hometown of Burka after he got the Thunder Fruit. So Luffy simply made up a story based on the analysis. Unexpectedly, seeing Enel's appearance seems really good. If you don't believe me, why are you running? We are at war, shouldn't you continue to attack us? It is said that the complete person directly turned into lightning and disappeared from the spot. Luffy watched the confused Shira begin to flicker with electric lights, but his appearance was the same as that of Enel. Surprise flashed in Luffy's heart at this time. I'm Joe, can this TM be caught? No matter what people say is true or not, it seems that I can't beat it. Unexpectedly, Enel, who defeated the former god 6 years ago, is also a descendant of his brother Nolando. Shira immediately put on a smile that he thought was kind. Okay, big brother, you come with me, the golden bell is holding Nixie at the top of the sacred tree. Ape dung. This is fate, just because this group of Sky Island natives took away their hometown for their own selfish desires. Seeing this, Shira shuddered all over, and only then remembered that this was the big guy who had knocked Enel into pieces by a bolt of lightning. The Sandia warriors behind them were suddenly overwhelmed with excitement, and they lit the lamps of Shandora. This is the dream that everyone has been working hard for many years. He growled at Luffy. I won't admit you're my big brother. At this time, Weber had completely forgotten that the people Luffy mentioned were entrusted by the descendants of Nolando. At this time, Enel's mind was in a mess. Shira stood in place with a dazed expression, and it was not right to walk, or not to go. Seeing that there was something going on, Luffy waved directly at Shira who was flying in the air. What are you waiting for? Why don't you take us to the Golden Bell? Didn't you see that Sandia's brothers are waiting to ring the bell? Everyone looked at Enel who left suddenly. Don't you think this place is boundless 300 tales? Advertisement chapter 169 Kaido is blamed. We are here through time travel. Advertisement. On the other hand, Enel returns to the Shrine of God. At this time his mind was confused. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Why is there a big brother inexplicably? Why is his ability so similar to mine? Is what he said true? Suddenly, a flash of inspiration came to Enel's mind. That's not right. I'm stupid. No matter how you look at him, he's younger than me. How could he be my big brother? Enel jumped up from the throne with a bang, and the veins on his forehead were exposed. How dare you play me? With a whoosh, Enel turned into lightning again and rushed towards the lower floor. At this time, the sky was approaching dusk. In order to give a perfect bell to this time spanning 400 years. Weber decided to wait until dawn the next day before lighting Shandora's lamps. At this time, everyone is collecting ingredients in the forest, preparing for a grand, 860, bonfire party. The Cloud Wolf in the forest, clamoring that this is his territory, was beaten up by the Sandia warriors and offered delicious fruit wine. Sanji, who is a perfect fighter, has recovered from his injuries in the morning. He and Zoro caught a dozen huge empty sharks in the Cloud River for everyone to barbecue. I didn't expect there to be such a brave sky fighter like Ms. Lackey in the sky. I feel like my heart is captured by you. Sanji held up a large piece of empty shark meat and half kneeled in front of the Shandia female warrior Lackey and complimented loudly. Kamishili with round glasses watched the yellow-haired brat shamelessly pick on his own girl, and decisively grabbed a large bucket of fruit wine and prepared to fight Sanji to the death. And when everyone is immersed in the ocean of joy, a terrifying thunder light gathered in the air. God's punishment. With a bang, Lei Zhu directly slashed down towards the crowd. Advertisement. Luffy frowned. Did he react? Luffy slapped the ground. The iron sand contained in the soil was controlled by Luffy to fly up, instantly forming a giant lightning rod to block everyone. Just listening to the surge of the electric current, the terrifying punishment of the gods was introduced into the earth by the black iron sand and disappeared. At this time, everyone reacted and stood up hastily. They looked at the sky, only to see Enel glaring at Luffy angrily. You're kidding me. How could you be my big brother? You look younger than me. It is through this that UTM realized that something is wrong. While Luffy was thinking about how to continue fooling Enel. At this time, Enel didn't want to listen to Luffy's sophistry anymore, and saw him rushing up with a golden stick in his hand. Zoro and others rushed forward, but Luffy stopped them with a wave. With their current strength, facing the guy who has developed Thunder Fruit to this admiral level, there is no chance of winning at all, even resistance is a luxury, and there is no effective training at all. Gold is soft, Luffy shrugged and went straight to Enel. With a muffled sound, the golden stick in Enel's hand was directly bent by Luffy. But gold conducts electricity. Enel smiled triumphantly, 100 million volts discharge. The terrifying lightning strike directly enveloped Luffy along the golden stick. Zoro and others were shocked when they saw this. Luffy. The Sandia warriors also hurriedly took up their weapons and prepared to rescue Luffy. Only sharp-eyed Usopp noticed the clue. No, look carefully, is Luffy yawning? How is it possible, facing such a powerful attack? Sanji immediately retorted. He squinted his eyes and looked carefully at Luffy, who was shrouded in lightning, and instantly froze. He saw that Luffy was yawning and holding the long stick in Enel's hand, and did not respond to Enel's attack at all. If it weren't for the scorched and burning land on the ground, everyone would have suspected that the two of them were acting. Advertisement. Impossible. How could you be fine? Enel doubted his life again. Could it be that he is really the embodiment of thunder and lightning like himself? Luffy looked at Enel with some sympathy. He was obviously the strongest Logia devil fruit in Logia that took into account attack power, speed, and defense, but he met Luffy, a phantom beast, rubber elf, and Nika fruit's ability user. What is TNK? As long as it is placed on the Grand Line, with Enel's terrifying observation haki and hardnet skills, even without armament haki, it can definitely easily defeat any pirate cadre below the level of the Emperor's deputy. However, he met Luffy who was against Tianhu himself. The most important thing is that he was seriously injured by Luffy due to carelessness. Otherwise, with Enel's speed, Luffy would not be able to beat him at all. Enel looked at Luffy's eyes for a moment, then looked at the thunder drum behind him, and once again doubted his identity. But doubts are doubts, he still doesn't think Luffy is his big brother. After all, Luffy is not a little bit younger than himself. Suddenly Luffy had a flash of inspiration. Looking at Enel, whose eyeballs were almost protruding, Luffy sighed helplessly. My stupid Auto, I am really your brother. Did you see the goo you painted on your thunder drum? That's the symbol of the family. If you don't believe me, you can follow me to Wano Kuni to prove it. It is still ruled by our enemies. He took back the golden stick, used ley metallurgy to retrain it to its original shape, and knocked on the thunder drums on the left and right shoulders, and suddenly a thunderbird and a thunderbeast rushed towards Luffy roaring. But I clearly remember that the fire snakes were flying around, a man with demon horns burned the place where we lived, and the servant named Tianhu Shi used her demon fruit power to send us to the future. It's younger than him, it's his elder brother, younger than him, it's his elder brother. Because she was already on the verge of death at that time, there was a negligence in her ability, which caused you to fall out of the space-time tunnel ahead of time and landed on Sky Island Burka. He is known as the Four Emperors Kaido. Luffy never felt so easy to use the normal 3-Tomo Sharingan. But for others, the terrifying Thunderbird and Thunderbeast hit Luffy straight with a swish. Luffy only felt his body go numb, like a horse killing a chicken, and then there was nothing else. Luffy explained loudly to Enel with an excited face. As Luffy said, a pair of scarlet Sharingan appeared in his eyes. But Luffy doesn't want to let go of this Admiral's combat power, so Luffy's brain is playing with fate at this time, thinking about how to explain to Enel why he is younger than him but his elder brother. Luffy shook his head and walked straight towards Enel, with a kind voice in his mouth. It's useless, you and I have the same origin, your ability is useless to me. But Luffy was thinking about how to fool this big fool. After all, the way to defeat Enel is to kill him in seconds when he is unprepared. Otherwise, with Enel's speed at this time, Luffy will never be able to beat him. My stupid O0.2 doo-doo, the reason why I am younger than you is because when our country was in danger, there was a servant who ate the fruit of time and sent the two of us to the future separately, so although it looks younger than you, but in fact I am your elder brother, and you were still young at that time, so you don't have these memories. Advertisement Chapter 170 The Limit of Speed, The Embarrassed Enel. Advertisement. Everyone in the straw hats looked at Luffy, waved their hands and booed in unison. How can you believe it? Enel's hand holding the golden stick trembled uncontrollably, and finally roared. Even if you are my big brother, don't try to stop my determination to find the infinite continent. Everyone. Why, I really believe it. The soldiers of Sandia burst into tears. What a disobedient brother this is. Luffy sighed helplessly. Sure enough, I still have to rely on virtue to convince people in the end. Speaking of which, Luffy opened the Sharingan and raised his fist. Have you ever seen such a big German? Second gear. Luffy let out a low snort, and rushed directly towards Enel. Yahahaha. Enel laughed loudly. Let you big brother see how I have gained the power of God all these years. Yahahaha. The straw hats. I have no doubts at all, hey. Enel turned into lightning and rushed towards Luffy. Luffy was also not to be outdone in the second gear and cooperated with Marine 6 styles to shave the speed of the fight between the two, which directly caused the two figures to disappear in the eyes of everyone. It's so fast. War Ghost Weber looked at the exploding trees around him in shock, with a look of horror on his face. With the current speed of the two of them, he and the Shandia warriors couldn't touch Enel at all, let alone kill him. Up. At this time, Luffy also knew bitterly, the speed of the damn thunder fruit is really too buggy. The speed of B is definitely comparable to that of Kizaru. If it wasn't for the ability to control Enel's heart network by manipulating electromagnetic waves, he might not be able to fight against Enel at all. Fortunately, many of the templates I have plugged in along the way have directly or indirectly strengthened Luffy's observation haki. This caused both Luffy and Enel to lose their heart nets at the same time, and Luffy's observation haki was significantly higher than Enel's. After all, before getting the Masaka Makoto template, Luffy's knowledge is only a short distance from predicting the future. However, due to the heart network, the direction of observation haki developed by Enel is more about range than accuracy. This also caused Enel to lose the bonus of the heart network, and observation haki was weaker than Luffy. This allowed Luffy to barely follow the direction of Enel's attack. Advertisement. Yahahaha, it looks like I'm stronger than you, Enel laughed triumphantly, and the lightning flashing figure even left an afterimage in the air. MD, Luffy's face darkened, and the Sharingan in his eyes directly turned into Rinnegan, Shenluo Tianzhong. With a bang, Enel was sent flying. Since a move like this cannot attach to haki, Enel, who is Logia, is not injured by it. Yahahaha, except for those idiots from the Sky Island people, whether it is the Sandia people or you and me, the ultimate goal is the same. That is to find the gold that once flourished in Qinghai in the distant past. City, Dora. In this case, let us have a good competition, only the winner is eligible to get that large amount of gold. Enel stood up, stared at Luffy with burning eyes and said. When Nami heard this, his eyes turned into Bailey. Sure enough. Is the legend of the Golden City true? On Luffy. Come on and beat him. Luffy rolled his eyes at the excited Nami. He knew that most of the gold in the Golden City of Shandora was forged by Enel into the Arc motto. And even so, Luffy and others picked up a little gold from the snake's belly and sold it for 100 million Baileys. Luffy patted the smoldering clothes, and said to Enel seriously, I've said it before, my goal is not gold, but you, my stupid Odudo. Although I haven't tried it, I have tried to deduce it through Rinnegan, and I just happened to try to see if it can be successful. Luffy stared at Enel fiercely, and his body began to flash with lightning, stimulate the activity of cells through the Thunder Attribute Chakra, and enhance your speed, strength and responsiveness. Patcher. Lightning-style chakra mode. As soon as Luffy finished speaking, he disappeared in front of Enel's eyes in an instant. Enel's eyes widened. How is it possible? Slow. Luffy's voice came from Enel's side. How could it be? Enel was startled, and instantly disappeared into a thunderbolt to dodge, but what greeted him was a fist with Conqueror's Haki attached. Boom. With a muffled sound, Ailu was directly sent flying by Luffy. At this time, Luffy was covered in lightning, and his hair stood upright due to static electricity. If it wasn't for the color or black, he would definitely look like a Super Saiyan 2. Advertisement. How fast is Thunder Fruit and Sparkling Fruit? Theoretically speaking, both fruits can reach the speed of light. But that's also just theory. In fact, the thinking speed of Demon Fruit power is the limit of the speed of these two kinds of fruits. At this time, Luffy uses the second gear to accelerate the blood flow of the heart to gain stronger exercise ability, and then stimulates cell activity through lightning-style chakra, which is enough to increase Luffy's speed by a large margin. This is why Kizaru also developed an 8-foot mirror skill specifically for fast movement, because teleporting between two mirrors does not need to control the speed, and the speed can be brought to ultimate directly. Everyone could only see the slightest sparks flashing from the air. Otherwise, Kizaru would be too full to walk in a straight line, and would chase after people in detours. Before I had time to turn on the lightning-style chakra mode, I was blown out of my mind. The same is true for Enel, although his speed of transforming into thunder is extremely fast, but there is an upper limit after all. Because if there is no blessing of the lightning attribute ability, to directly strengthen the brain cells with lightning is purely courting death. Otherwise, if you really want to reach the speed of light, wouldn't Kizaru easily pass the Grand Line End Circle in a second? In fact, although the speed of the two is fast, they are not irresistible in front of the top powerhouses, because the upper limit of the Devil Fruit developed by the two is the limit of the speed of the brain. After all, the ability of Devil Fruit needs to be activated by capable people. I can't even think about it, how can I activate the fruit ability? As for the captain level, you can see from Marco's miserable appearance. Basically, he can only rely on hard resistance to fight against Kizaru. Therefore, although Kizaru's speed is fast, it has not reached the level of being unsolvable. The strong at the Four Emperors level can pre-77 to Kizaru's attack through observation haki. Smashed a huge pothole in the ground. Suddenly, with a muffled sound, Enel suddenly appeared from the air with injuries all over his body, and smashed hard towards the ground. If Luffy didn't have the Masaka Makoto template loaded, he wouldn't dare to try it anyway. It must be known that stimulating cells also includes brain cells, and Luffy at this time is definitely much faster than Enel in terms of reaction speed. Coupled with the high elasticity of Nika fruit rubber, Luffy at this time is no less than Enel in terms of speed. At this time, the speed of the two people is like 2/4 Reikage, colliding rapidly at the relatively static speed of the others. Bang. Advertisement Chapter 171I, Luffy, the Sun God, play money. Advertisement. Impossible. I am obviously a thunder, how can a human being hit a thunder? Enel gasped and looked at Luffy with disbelief on his face. Luffy looked at Enel like a god of thunder at this time. You also know that human beings have interpreted the fear of nature as gods since ancient times, and escaped from incomprehensible fear. To interpret as miracles all supernatural imaginations beyond the comprehension of human intellect. Now, to you, I am a god, Oleva Kamida. Let you see a real miracle, my stupid Auto, let you feel the real huge gap between you and me, the desperate gap. Luffy Zhang shouted loudly to Enel. He glanced at Masaka Makoto's 90% reduction rate, and directly activated the final skill. A person with absolute ability. Levay 6. A pure white thunder light began to flash on Luffy's body, and a crown of thunder gradually formed on the top of his head like a crown. A cloak like a fence also emerged from the back. Terrifying thunder whips began to emanate from the whole body, and a random strike formed a huge gully in the land of Apayado. Enel felt the long-lost panic in his eyes as he felt the terrifying power from another dimension. This was a level of terror that he never thought he could achieve. Luffy looked at his hands, he felt that his body life was being consumed crazily. Sure enough, Masaka Makoto was really guided by Kahara Jensei through heart mastery, and Masaka Makoto would be in a state where his power was out of control and he was forced to approach absolute power. The template itself does not have the qualifications to be promoted to LV6 superpowers. Feeling the vigorous power in his body, Luffy looked at the shivering Enel, but this is enough. My stupid Odudo, I want you to feel what the power of a real god is. I saw Luffy clasping his palms together to form a tiger seal. A huge two-headed and four-handed blue chakra titan rose from the ground, forming different knot seals with Luffy at the same time. At the same time, the thunder and lightning on Luffy's body flashed, and the terrifying electromagnetic force shot straight into the sky like a divine presence. What's wrong? What happened? Advertisement. Everyone looked at Luffy's expression of difficulty. As this ninjutsu, Chopper looked at Luffy with bling bling eyes, so handsome. Zoro suddenly felt ominous. Hey, Luffy, what are you doing? Usopp looked at the sky suspiciously and said hesitantly to everyone, don't you think the moon seems to be getting bigger? Moon. Everyone looked at the moon rising in the sky strangely. Because it was at an altitude of 10,000 feet, the moon was much larger than it was seen from the ground. But, how does it feel like the moon is getting bigger? At this time, Luffy smiled crookedly. My stupid Odudo. Don't you want this infinite continent in the sky? Come, your big brother, I'll give it to you. God's obstacle. Zhengxing. What did you say? Everyone reacted at this moment, and their eyeballs protruded from their sockets one by one. It was not their illusion. Luffy actually pulled down the moon from the sky. The huge moon is getting bigger and bigger at a speed visible to the naked eye. As it gets closer to Sky Island, the reflected sunlight gradually disappears. A terrifying black shadow hundreds of times larger than a paya broke through the clouds and smashed down. Luffy clasped his hands together with all his energy and shouted loudly, Planetary Devastation. A terrifying gravitational force went deep into the center of the moon along with an extremely black ball. The speed of the moon, which was rushing down, slowly slowed down under Luffy's crazy spellcasting. The huge moon is getting closer, and everyone has clearly seen the craters on the moon. And Luffy's energy of becoming an absolute ability user is rapidly consumed at a terrifying speed, and soon even Luffy's body begins to age at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, the moon slowly fell to everyone like a weightless balloon, and landed on the land of Apayado little by little. Just at the moment when the moon made contact with Apayado. Bang. Boom. Advertisement. Apayado, known as the sanctuary of Sky Island, was instantly divided into two by the huge weight of the moon. The ground shakes and the mountains shake, and the cloud river bursts. Numerous huge southern birds flew in all directions. Everyone looked at the old figure standing next to the moon and lost their souls. No one dared to underestimate this shriveled old man who looked like he would collapse in the wind. Luffy looked at the obviously frightened crowd and pointed at Enel. I, Sun God, Monkey D. Luffy, surrender to me. Regardless of the low combat effectiveness of individuals in Lelouch's world, the pervert in World C mods is simply not comparable to that of Pirate World. And the essence of the C world can be understood. Hey, it is to back up the code owner. Once there is damage or death, the file will be read again. Only Circus C looked calmly at the place where Luffy disappeared without any surprise. Enel looked at Luffy who disappeared in the sky with a confused face. What the hell is this? When Lousy was so scared that he was speechless and was about to kneel down and sing Conquer, did you play yourself off? Enel sat down on the ground and was completely taken aback by Luffy's cheating operation. Let alone Enel, even the Sandia warriors knelt in front of Luffy and shouted, Praise God. A huge seagull-shaped logo suddenly appeared in midair. You guys are enough. Just like at this time. And at this moment, Luffy's body began to crumble to powder. Whether it was the level 6 absolute ability user who stepped into the realm of the gods, or the Tengai Shinsei used at the expense of life, Luffy's body at this time was already dilapidated. Luffy's body and clothes began to reorganize quickly, and soon the intact Luffy appeared in front of everyone. After all, she knows that it is impossible for the owner of the code to hang up. The gas of the final boss saint in the theatrical version of the final resurrection of Lelouch is back in time. Luffy. The group of straw hats below looked at Luffy who disappeared, dumbfounded. Nani? Finally, at the moment when he finished pretending to be aggressive, Luffy's body shriveled and exploded, turning into powder as if he had gone through 10,000 years. It's nothing compared to Luffy pulling down to the moon. Usopp, Chopper and Nami also knelt down to Luffy at the same time. Praise God. Advertisement Chapter 172 Power Surge, Moon Base, Moon City Burka. Advertisement. One Piece world is crazy. Without him, the moon is gone. The Fur tribe was stunned, and he was still counting on watching the moon transform into a ball. Everyone watched the moon fall from the sky and disappear into the dark cumulus clouds. For a time the legend that a titan with a straw hat ate the moon went crazy. At this time, the culprit was happily holding a bonfire party in Apayado. Enel, who had seen such divine power, had completely succumbed to Luffy's power. It's impossible not to give in. It's outrageous that one's lifelong dream is pulled down from the sky by others. Luffy had the idea of bringing down the moon from the moment he saw Masaka Makoto's template skill. After all, Luffy has read the title page before, and the actual moon is not too big. As the hometown of Sky Islanders, it is only about the size of a dozen Sky Islands, not even as big as Alabasta. And the moon is not too far from Pirate World. The previous robots could easily reach the moon by relying on hydrogen balloons, which shows that the moon in One Piece world is not too far from the ground. Coupled with the fact that he is on Sky Island at an altitude of 10,000 feet, Luffy decisively tries to use all his strength and life to pull the moon down. Because he knows that there is a hometown of Sky Island people on the Moon City Burka. There are countless small warrior robots waiting to be activated, although the specific strength is unknown. But the fact that the 680 can absorb Enel's attack to recharge is enough to show that the group of bearded dwarf robots are not too weak. After all, it is a robot guard developed by the lunar people. Once successful, this will be a good hole card for Luffy in the world of pirates. Finally, Luffy found a good opportunity to activate Misaka Makoto's absolute ability skill, and then spent all of her lifespan on Rinnegan's Tengai Shinsei, finally pulling the moon down from the sky. What surprised Luffy was that although the moon was pulled above the cumulus clouds by Luffy, the sky did not seem to fall into darkness as in the image. This can't help but remind Luffy that someone once said that there should be more than one moon in the pirate world. But these are no longer within the scope of Luffy's consideration. At this time, he was leading Zoro and others to start a grand bonfire dinner. Shandia warriors, Enel, as well as divine soldiers and priests all surrounded Luffy in worship. Advertisement. That's right, worship. Originally, Luffy wanted to take Enel as his subordinate, but the result seemed to be too much force all of a sudden. At this time, Enel simply worshipped himself as a god. What makes Luffy feel the most is that Enel firmly believes that he is his own brother, and has been clamoring to kill Wano Kuni and take away the regime occupied by Kaido. Even Nami, Usopp, and Chopper regard themselves as a totem, and pray to themselves when they are free. It's really that Luffy's operation is outrageous. To really say how strong the destructive power is, maybe even those demon fruit powers awakened by Zone may not be able to smash to death. But pulling the moon down is not what normal people can think of. Luffy's bonfire dinner in the Golden Country ended like a sacrifice among all the people. Early in the morning, under the leadership of Enel, the Sandians went to the cloud layer where the Golden Bell, the tallest pea sprout, was located. As this just a spoonful of Shandia's lamp, Weber looked at this huge golden clock and burst into tears. Nami also shed tears, but her tears came from good, big gold. At this time, Nami's eyes have completely changed into the shape of Pele. She shook Luffy like crazy. Luffy, let's fight it. We'll send it if we fight. Luffy coughed wildly. Attention, we are Marine, even if you want to steal, you can't say no in front of others. Zoro, Usopp, hey, you can't say it in person. Excitedly, Weber picked up the giant broken gold pillar next to him. He looked at the Sandia warriors who were all excited. With a bang, the huge bell sounded throughout the entire kingdom of gods. The news reached Kulik in Qinghai, and he rushed out of the stone house excitedly. At this time, the orangutan were looking at the sky excitedly. Dad, it's the bell, the legendary Shandora's lights, it's actually in the sky. The apes danced excitedly. Advertisement. Kulik covered his eyes with his hands and burst into tears. The ancestors did not lie. Shandora is real. The land of gold is in the sky. The melodious bell echoed in everyone's hearts, and Luffy seemed to hear a strange sound when he listened to the sound of all things. It's such a soothing bell, Robin murmured as he looked at the shaking golden clock in shock. Enel, who was nibbling on an apple at the side, didn't care much. What's so good about this? If I didn't have enough gold, I would have given it to him a long time ago. Enough gold. Nami on the side immediately became energetic when he heard the word gold. You mean there are other golds? Enel nodded. Of course. This is just a little more gold. You must know that when I found Shandora, the whole city was covered with a thick layer of gold. Molten. Luffy smiled and waved his hand. No, this thing can show your strength to the greatest extent. I will keep it for great use. Enel looked at Nami with some impatience. The eldest brother, this maid, is a bit annoying. It was originally intended to drive him to the infinite continent. Now that the infinite continent has been dragged down by you, it doesn't seem to be very useful. If you like gold, why don't we melt it? At this time, in the cave, hundreds of divine soldiers of the previous god Ganfer are making the final smelting of the proverbs. Akainu's meteor volcano is ADK, but a ball of lightning will blow up the entire Crescent Bay for you. At this time, Luffy's mind is full of doing this for the Whitebeard pirates in the upcoming summit war. It must be very sour, and still run. Run away. After the bell had finished ringing, the Shandians were excited to move all the tribesmen in Beibai back to Shandora. The magic soldiers below almost vomited blood when they heard Enel's words. Didn't you come to Sky Island to find the Golden Land? What about after melting? Enel brought Luffy and others to a cave. What about gold? Nami asked Enel excitedly. Enel excitedly pointed to the proverbs of the Ark and showed off to Luffy. Brother. Look quickly, this is the vehicle of God that I spent 6 years building with the gold of the entire Shandora. Proverbs of the Ark. Thinking of this, Luffy showed a beating smile on his face. Enel said to Luffy flatteringly. NMD. The Ark that Lousy took 6 years to build without sleep, you didn't even open it and plan to melt it. Are you G kidding me? You must know that the terrorist attack released by Enel through the Ark Proverbs is enough to easily destroy an island. In a sense, the Ark Proverbs plus Enel can already be compared to the 3 ancient weapons. Advertisement Chapter 173. Re-follow the template and get a new title. Advertisement. Keep the truth in your heart and keep silent, we are the ones who make history. With the bells of the Great Clock Tower. Robin was very excited when he looked at the historical text of Shandora stored on the bottom floor, and took notes in his own small notebook. Luffy on the side yawned boredly. A few days after taking over Enel, everyone in the Straw Hats started a relaxing trip to Sky Island. Zoro and Sanji went to help the Shandia move back to Shandora, and Usopp and Chopper went to Angel Island, the kingdom of gods, to buy various shellfish. Usopp was dazzled by the variety of shellfish, and hot shellfish. The most outrageous thing is that this guy almost swept the commercial street with a rubber band. On the contrary, the people of Sky Island look down on the gold and private money they have accumulated. With Enel's cover, the two of them can travel freely in the kingdom of God. As for the Moon City Burka in the moon, because Luffy forcibly pulled it down, many facilities in it were seriously damaged. Circa century, as a witch who has lived in Lelouch's world for thousands of years, the so-called ball-using technology is simply child's play to her. So for the past 2 days Circa C has been following Enel and the priests to excavate the buried city Burka inside the moon, repairing some damaged lines. Once activated, with Enel's charge, Luffy has direct access to a high-tech base, as well as countless mechanical little human warriors. Although the combat effectiveness of these villains is questionable, there is absolutely no problem in terms of loyalty. And Nami and Vivi were brought into the stomach of the Lord of the Sky by Luffy, which contained quite a lot of gold swallowed by him. At that time, Nami was so excited that she almost agreed with her body. The two of them moved in and out of the Sky Master tirelessly for 2 days, until Usopp couldn't stand it anymore and told her that the melee was really too big to fit. Nami, who was still full of thoughts, stopped. Of course, before leaving, Nami also asked the Lord of the Sky through Chopper to protect her gold, otherwise Luffy would come back to stew it, which made the 400-year-old Python nod repeatedly. Ding dong, the time limit for the template has expired. Congratulations, the restoration rate of the host template has reached 100% during loading. Skills are being randomly selected. Congratulations for obtaining the skill. Hacking ability. You can directly hack into computers without going through cables. You can hack electronic devices directly through electrical signals or electronic operations, and even destroy electronic devices through communication lines. Close black lens bracket. Congratulations to the collection point +1. Congratulations on completing the achievement. Base camp. Get 20,000 achievement points. Advertisement. Congratulations on getting the title. I am God. Wearing friendly believers worship +10. Loyalty +10. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to restart random template? Close black lens bracket. No. Open the base panel. Luffy responded to the system, and suddenly Luffy's basic information at this time appeared in his mind. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket current loading template. None close black lens bracket. Equipment. Samahata, Mizunohu expired, Desert Eagle, Bunny Girl suit, Kanai 1 set, Action CD, Goblin Horn, DVD player. Talent skills. 100% being caught empty-handed, immediately, Blood Follower Limit Rinnegan, Code God Power, Hacker ability. Bond 1. Circa C. IQ +10 when forming a team. Open black lens bracket achievement points. 24,537 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket favorites. 13 close black lens bracket. Title. Famous all over the world I am God. This is also a special function discovered by Luffy. When the host does not load the template, the basic panel will be updated with the skills that the host has acquired from the system. At this time, Luffy has already loaded 13 templates, except for the 5 normal templates in the middle. The Saitama template has provided considerable help to himself. Many of the skills I have comprehended have not been included in the system's sacrifice panel, but at this time, even if Luffy has not loaded the template, his strength has been firmly at the level of a 4 Emperor's Cadre. If coupled with Chopper's Blue Wave Ball, Luffy can explode in 3 minutes with a fighting power that is not lost to Ka-er. Coupled with the benefits obtained by relying on the Masaka Makoto template this time, as long as the Moon City Burka is restored, even if the 5 elders attack him, he can occupy a place in the world. After all, with Enel's strength plus the arc, its destructive power is not inferior to that of Admiral. As for myself, I can barely reach the level of Big Kanban or General Star, and I can even reach the level of 4 Emperors if I have a good character and draw to the top template. Coupled with his own identity and connections, even if the 5 elders want to start a full-scale war, he will not hesitate at all. After all, with Enel, a large power bank with unlimited power and a large number of lunar technology fighters, I will no longer have to worry about not being able to support my men without Bailey. The only disadvantage is that his middle-level combat power is too low, Zoro and others have not yet developed, and the strength of the Moon Warriors is unknown. Asking for flowers. Advertisement. The best way is to find a way to empty out Marine's family property. You must know that Zephyr had a large number of diehard followers when it first judged Marine to establish a new Marine. As for his own identity and connections, as long as he has enough funds and operates well, it will not be a problem to separate the entire Marine system from the world government. The only problem now is that the communication with Sky Island base is a big problem. Luffy stroked his chin and thought, it is impossible for me to return to the base through the rising sea every time. The only way at present is to be picked up by Enel's arc, but this is easy to attract the attention of some people. After all, Luffy is going to play Enel as the whole card to the critical moment. While thinking, Circa C led Enel to Luffy. How can it be fixed? Luffy asked Circa C. Circa C nodded. It won't be a big problem if it is repaired, but this lunar city is a bit damaged, and it shouldn't be able to be used again for a while. How long will it take? Luffy frowned upon hearing this. Circa C pondered for a while. A few months at least, a year at most. If the power system can be repaired first, the repair speed will be greatly improved with the help of those simulated robots. If the power system is not repairable, it may take a long time. When Luffy heard this, his face was a little ugly. He thought that it could be easily repaired with the technology he knew from Circa Century, but he didn't expect such a large amount of work. Now that the Summit War is just around the corner, it is impossible for me to stare at the restoration of the Moon City on Sky Island. Due to the previously changed plot, the situation in Qinghai now requires me to prepare for the sun in advance. Luffy pondered for a long time, and decided to temporarily split into two groups. Circus C temporarily stayed on Sky Island to help Enel restore Burka. And Luffy took other people to Qinghai to understand the current situation. The next day, don't you really need me to send it, brother? Enel asked Luffy with a face of reluctance. Luffy waved his hand. If you want to help me, quickly find a way to fix Burka, and I will notify you with a phone bug when it's time for you to make a move. At this time, everyone reluctantly looked at the kingdom of God behind them like a dream. Kanis-chan, I will come to see you again, Sanji reluctantly greeted Kanis. My gold, Nami reluctantly waved at the Lord of the Sky. Everyone, you are enough for a long time. Advertisement Chapter 174 Blackbeard. Advertisement. Everyone, pay attention to safety during the descent. Kanis's final voice came. Everyone waved goodbye to her. Everyone. Wait a minute, is it falling? Kanis. Hey. Ah, after a huge octopus caught the melee, everyone's frightened souls were put back into their bodies. Ah ha ha, it's fun, like a roller coaster. Luffy laughed. Nami wiped the frightened tears from the corners of his eyes. How funny. After an 8-hour hot air balloon octopus trip, without Luffy making trouble, everyone landed in a bay steadily. Suddenly countless searchlights lit up from all directions, shining on the melee. Nani, where have we landed? Facing the harsh light, Nami looked around. Luffy grinned. Finally, I can eat something good. Everyone looked at Luffy. 423, strangely. Huh. Do you know where this is? Luffy smiled lightly, returned to the cabin and put on the long-lost Justice cloak. At this time, a series of alarms sounded, small boats approached the melee, and marine soldiers jumped onto the boats one after another. Stop and put your hands up. The first non-commissioned officer raised his gun and shouted. Suddenly he saw Luffy's attire and epaulets. Center, Mr. Vice Admiral. Luffy flicked his cloak. Little ones, let's go. At this time, the huge pattern of G8 on the wall caught everyone's eyes. Marine base. I didn't expect the famous Vice Admiral Monkey D. Luffy to visit my small branch base. Jonathan smiled and handed Luffy a glass of red wine, still in this unexpected way. 17. Ah ha ha, it was an accident, it was purely an accident, and I will trouble you to overhaul my boat this time. Luffy smiled and greeted this strict wife, Vice Admiral. Fort G8, known as the big and improper marine fort. But Luffy knows that it is definitely not easy to be called an iron-walled fortress on the Grand Line. The damaged warships parked in the ship repair yard, as well as the wounded transported, are enough to illustrate the contribution of this fortress to peace within the most jurisdictional area. It is also the strength of the G8 fortress, which leads to the scarcity of pirates in the sphere of influence, which makes the fortress look redundant. Advertisement. As everyone knows, if there is no G8 fortress, this sea area will be in chaos. After experiencing this journey, the melee is a civilian sloop, and even though Luffy has been intentionally protecting the melee in this life, it is still broken at this time. Although the keel has not yet broken, the frequent water leakage has shown that the melee is already overwhelmed. So this time Luffy specially changed the route and landed again to the G8 fort just to strengthen the melee. As Luffy has discovered through Rinnegan, the ship spirits of the Merry have begun to awaken. In order to keep the ship spirit, Luffy decided to make an attempt. That is the paradox of the ship of Theseus. If the wood on Theseus' ship is gradually replaced until all the wood is not the original wood, is the ship still the same ship? The same is true for the melee. Luffy is going to update the parts of the melee one by one except for the keel before arriving at the capital of Seven Waters. Wait until the capital of Seven Waters to replace the Atom Tree bought by Frankie as a keel. See if you can inherit the ship elf. After all, the Merry in the original book has undergone many repairs, and the ship elf is still the ship elf of the Merry. Looking at the young Vice Admiral in front of him, Jonathan was filled with emotion. He knew that Luffy had a much brighter future than his own Vice Admiral assigned to the branch. You're welcome, your crew has also helped us a lot. The Marines who set off were attacked by Jack Scissorhands. The current medical facilities are insufficient, thanks to your ship doctor. Jonathan was equally polite. By the way, why does Luffy Vice Admiral come to my place when you have time? Don't you know that the headquarters is looking for you like crazy? Jonathan looked at Luffy who was enjoying the wine leisurely and said strangely. Looking for me? Why are you looking for me? Luffy asked in surprise. As a face project, Marine Vice Admiral doesn't seem to have any urgent matters, so he needs to do it himself. Don't you know, something big is happening in New World? Jonathan said with a serious face. Huh, what's the big deal? Luffy was stunned when he heard the words. If the timeline of the original story is followed, the biggest thing is probably that Ace should meet Blackbeard and be caught. Now Ace is sent away by himself, and Blackbeard is fooled by himself to give up the goal of Ace, because Mom's tea party is not on time. It is right that we are in a relatively peaceful period now. Wherever big things happen, it is still in the New World. Jonathan looked at the puzzled Luffy and confirmed that he was not aware of the latest news. So he took out several newspapers of different dates. It reads impressively. Open black lens bracket Whitebeard pirates, one of the 4 emperors, was targeted by mysterious people, close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Half of the 46 large fleets under his command were attacked, and the captain disappeared. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Whitebeard was furious, and issued a sky-high reward to ask for relevant information, close black lens bracket. Blackbeard pirates. Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach publicly shouted to Whitebeard, admitting that the attack on the Whitebeard was his own doing. Whitebeard chased and killed the Blackbeard pirates in anger. The Blackbeard pirates successfully escaped from New World. The world was shocked. Close black lens bracket. The Blackbeard pirates brought 20 captains of the big ships to join the world government in exchange for the position of 7 warlords of the sea. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. World government openly selects Shichibukai. Blackbeard pirates successfully selected. Marshal D. Teach new 7 warlords of the sea. Close black lens bracket. PFF'd. The red wine in Luffy's mouth spurted far away in one gulp, and he didn't recover for a long time. Ruthless. Luffy held back a word for a while. At this moment, he had already thought that Teach was cruel in order to kill Whitebeard. Taking advantage of the familiarity with the Whitebeard pirates, directly captured less than half of the big ship group under the Whitebeard pirates. Could it be that the legendary quality cannot be combined with quantity? Luffy took a closer look and found that they were not very famous pirates. The only familiar one was Skuyard from the Eddie Spider pirates who once stabbed Whitebeard in the back. The islanders on the territory will pay tribute to the 4 emperors for protection. Luffy, Marine Marshal's call. If there are 1 or 2 captains, maybe Whitebeard will indeed put pressure on the Marine branch for the sake of the overall situation. Luffy looked at the newspapers and said with emotion, as expected of being the only pirate in the entire pirate world, he is cruel to others, and he is also cruel to himself. An existence similar to a puppet regime has been formed. Kaido's violence, red-haired loyalty, Ant's blood, and Whitebeard's affection. And at this time, the 4 emperors don't need to take the initiative to rob 5.8 at all, they all have their own territory. Once your advantage is gone, you are not the only 4 emperors, and everyone will find a more reliable backstage. After all, everyone is a pirate, and there is no need to accompany you to death. Only subjects who have their own subjects, territories, bases, and control are called emperors. However, this regime is based on loose management. Those who burn, kill and loot everywhere can only be called thieves and pirates. Usopp, who was repairing the ship with Uncle Megawa, ran in panting. What is the emperor? But the G Blackbeard pirates caught half of them directly. After all, the so-called 4 emperors can't be established simply because they are powerful, but they also have enough influence to occupy the territory. If this cannot be saved, then the status of the Whitebeard pirate group 4 emperors will basically be gone. Once Whitebeard refuses to save his son, the only thing waiting is the disintegration of the big ship group. After all, the Whitebeard pirate group is most famous for protecting the weak. Advertisement Chapter 175 I will ask your grandpa to beat him up. Advertisement. Luffy, where did you go? Sengoku growled from the phone bug. Mr. Sengoku, okay, what's the matter? Who messed with you to make you so angry? Luffy looked at the growling phone bug in wonder and asked, I went to Sky Island to play, and it's not my fault that the phone bug doesn't have a signal. Since going to Sky Island, the marine communication phone bug that Luffy carried seems to have passed out due to lack of oxygen. Sky Island, what are you doing in that shitty place? Sengoku frowned, and then changed the topic. Well, forget it, it doesn't matter, was it your idea that Blackbeard attacked the Whitebeard pirates? Luffy was taken aback, I'm in the way. Suddenly Luffy seemed to remember giving Blackbeard a suggestion before going to heaven. Open black lens bracket. Hey, I don't mean anything, I just want to tell you that Whitebeard's son is more than ace. You have been with Whitebeard for so many years, you should know his temper, let alone ace. Even if it is a big ship group captain, he will also risk his life to attack Marineford, right? To be a human being, you must be flexible in your mind and learn to win the greatest results with the least cost. Young man, your thinking is still very good. I am optimistic about you, come on, close black lens bracket. 14. Rumors. This is slander, Luffy retorted sternly to the phone bug. Is that so? Sengoku nodded. Sure enough, pirates are sinister scum. This guy said that he followed your suggestion for this operation. Now Whitebeard is offering a sky-high price for your head. Where are you now? Don't wander around if you have nothing to do. Go back to naval headquarters quickly. Don't just go around blindly because you think you're capable. Wave. What the hell? Dare to slander our marine? I'll ask your grandpa to beat that guy up. Saying that, Sengoku hung up the phone with a snap. Luffy, this cheating Blackbeard, what the hell did he sell himself? The point is, does Whitebeard really believe it? What kind of IQ is this? You can believe anything you say. In fact, Whitebeard used Blackbeard's remarks to put pressure on Marine. Luffy is already known as Garp's grandson. You catch my son, I'll FK your grandson. Whitebeard issued a reward for Luffy with this attitude. Advertisement. Jonathan listened with a schadenfreude expression on his face. Hey, Luffy Vice Admiral seems to be staying with me for a while longer, and my place is the G8 fortress known as the Iron Wall. I believe ordinary little pirates don't have that dare to run into the fortress to arrest people. Luffy rolled her eyes at Jonathan when she heard the words. Don't worry about it, I don't care about little pirates. If you have that skill, why don't you introduce me to the head chef of your fortress? After all, I'm really interested in cooking. Jonathan looked at Luffy strangely. The pursuit of the Whitebeard pirates is not as important as cooking. By the way, how does he know that my wife cooks delicious food? At this time, Jessica pushed the dining car in from the door. No matter what you are talking about, let's talk about it, you still have to eat when it's time to eat. Jessica sets the plate for Jonathan and Luffy. However, the chef on your ship is indeed skilled, and he taught us a good lesson in just such a short time. Ah, is that right? I'm so sorry, this beautiful lady, my name is Cao Cao, it's a pleasure to meet you. Luffy shamelessly gave Jessica a hand kiss, and looked at Jonathan behind him with a livid face. Haha, Luffy Vice Admiral was joking, saying that I don't know your name, so I won't disturb the chat between the two of you, goodbye. Jessica backed out after putting down the cutlery. Jonathan asked blankly, so, when are you going to leave here? Shout, stingy, let's say hello to be so angry. Luffy looked at Jonathan with contempt. Jonathan felt 10,000 mud horses running wildly on top of his green head. Luffy's expression suddenly became serious, and asked Jonathan, have you received the notice to report to the headquarters? Jonathan was taken aback when he heard the words. Ah, indeed, how do you know, it should be a secret. Luffy nodded upon hearing the words. Sure enough, when? About 20 days later, the specific time depends on the notice from the headquarters. Jonathan frowned and asked, is there anything wrong? Luffy rolled his eyes wildly when he heard that, isn't he? It's too big. Although Blackbeard still captured many captains of the Whitebeard pirates, whether Sengoku is willing to take this opportunity to fight against Whitebeard or Luffy is not sure. Now Jonathan has actually received a job report notice, indicating that the Marine Summit war plan has begun to advance. It is uncertain whether Luffy will be implemented according to the original plan, but in terms of scale, if Sengoku decides to do it, it will definitely not be smaller than the original plot. Now that the news of the public execution has not been released, it shows that Sengoku's preparations are not yet complete. Before the Summit War, I seem to have two things to do. One is to improve and upgrade the melee and transfer the ship spirit by the way. Advertisement. Another. Luffy took a spoonful of broth and put it in his mouth. Delicious. Luffy turned to Jonathan and said seriously, why don't you lend me the head chef? Jonathan. Roll. It was already the evening of the second day when the melee was maintained. Luffy smiled and waved goodbye to Jonathan. On the other hand, Jonathan's face was livid, wishing he would never see this nasty guy again. After all, there were two guys who were so courteous in front of his wife who wanted to kill anyone who saw them. 507 is really a good person, and he even repaired the melee for us for free. Usopp looked at Jonathan and sighed. Idiot, we are Marine, are these included in the benefits? Sanji contemptuously said to Usopp. Ah, it's a pity I can't see my beautiful Jessica. Goodbye. Jonathan. 1. Lu Convex. See you, Uncle. Luffy, where are we going next? Zoro asked Luffy. Luffy took the newspaper from Jonathan and said, where? Back to Naval Headquarters, of course. Luffy squinted his eyes and looked into the distance and said, the new era is coming soon, it will start soon, the biggest war since the beginning of the pirate era, the collision that will truly stand at the pinnacle of the pirate world. The next world is a new era where only the truly strong can control everything. Luffy laughed excitedly. Zoro and others looked at the excited Luffy with confusion. Luffy stood up abruptly, striking a clenched fist. Chopper looked at the handsome Luffy with a look of admiration, and cheered for unknown reason. Ah. Let's go, Mei Li. Luffy picked up Chopper. You are the reindeer of the old era, and there is no pot that can stew you in the new era. Chopper. Advertisement Chapter 176 Aokiji who became a target. Advertisement. Who? Sanji took a long puff of smoke, finally settled down. It hasn't been this peaceful for a long time. Zoro was sitting wet on the deck beside him, resting with his favorite knife in his arms. After they left the G8 base, they encountered a tsunami chase from a sea monkey, and managed to escape from the big waves. In the end, I met the Fox Pirates again. Based on the concept that small words are meat. Nami decisively let Zoro take down the 24 million walking Pele. As a result, before I had time to take pictures, I was chased by a group of chirping sea monkeys. Finally, after a day and a night, the people got rid of these sea beasts who liked to play with navigators. At this time, after a day and a night of high-intensity voyage, everyone was tired and collapsed on the melee. Usopp, who was watching suddenly, frowned suddenly. Do you think someone can ride a bicycle on the sea? Sanji looked at Usopp strangely. Ah, stupid, how is it possible, how can anyone ride a bicycle on the sea? Usopp let out a long breath. Is it really my hallucination? Jingle bell, yo, can I take a quick boat? A lazy voice came from under the boat. Everyone looked down. Aokiji was riding a bicycle and saying hello under the melee. Everyone, it's really riding on the sea. Huh, why does this person look so familiar? Zoro frowned and looked at Aokiji in deep thought. Robin's eyes showed fear, and he said in a trembling voice, these are the 3 highest combat powers in Marine. Admiral Aokiji. Ah, I said it looks so familiar. I saw the photo when I was awarded the honor last time. Zoro slapped his head and suddenly realized. Sanji dropped the rope ladder with a cigarette in his mouth. I was shocked, it turned out to be my own. At this time, except for Robin, no one is panicked by the appearance of Aokiji. After all, everyone is Marine now. Only Robin, who was wanted since childhood, looked at Aokiji with fear on his face. Advertisement. Hey, my father-in-law is good, come and see my daughter. Quote. Luffy walked out of the cabin and greeted Aokiji with a smile. Last time, Alabasta rushed over, solved the problem and then slipped away. He didn't meet Robin at all, and the daughter control attribute was directly full. Appearing here this time, Luffy can basically guess the same. After all, he is about to arrive at the capital of Seven Waters, which is about to be corroded by the CP9 of the world government. Going to the capital of Seven Waters as Robin is like throwing yourself into a trap. After all, CP9's duty is to steal Pluton blueprints, and Robin, as the only Ohara survivor, will definitely be targeted by CP9. Aokiji, who has been expecting Robin to find a reliable partner, naturally wants to come to investigate for his daughter. However, Robin didn't know anything about it. Anyway, in her impression, every time Aokiji appeared, her friends would be caught and hung up. Anyway, it would not end well. Even if the bounty has been revoked at this time, seeing Aokiji is still frightening. Luffy looked enviously at Aokiji, who climbed up. Are you so leisurely? Ah, well, the Whitebeard pirates seem to be looking for you recently. Marshal Sengoku wants me to escort you back to naval headquarters. Aokiji scratched his head and said after climbing aboard the melee. Luffy looked at Aokiji with contempt. I believe you be ********D. No matter how big my background is it worth having a Marine Admiral personally escort me when preparing for this kind of summit war? Bah, typical hard-mouthed and soft-hearted. Luffy waved to everyone. It's gone, it's just a boater. He used to rub my grandfather's boat a lot. He's an old boater. What should I do? I'm an admiral anyway, can you respect my profession 10 times? But Aokiji didn't care about these, he was also here to see Robin. Ah, well, you can do whatever you want, I will find a place to rest by myself. Aokiji waved his hand politely to everyone, but when he turned around, he found that everyone had already gone to their own business, and he was not paid as much attention as the other ships, as if he was just an ordinary marine soldier. Only Robin stared at Aokiji nervously. Aokiji. I'm sorry, this crew member is the same as the captain. Luffy. Sanji, I want braised pork. Advertisement. Hi, you can't let people abort the meeting. Nami. Sanji, let's have some diet salad. Okay, Nami-san, I'll be ready soon. Zoro. I want to drink. Sanji. Plus Pan. Go and pour yourself. Zoro and Sanji immediately became interested when they saw it. Zoro took out his weapon and aimed at Aokiji to deal crazy damage, but Haki's unformed Zoro couldn't hurt Aokiji to share. Think Iron Body from Marine 6 Styles. Zoro frowned when he heard this, an invisible thing. Suddenly, Luffy had a flash of inspiration, and he took Enel under his command, and Zoro and others had no experience in fighting Logia. As he said that, Luffy took out the Desert Eagle and shot Aokiji directly. Sure enough, the bullet passed through Aokiji's chest without causing any damage. Huh, Zoro looked at the defenseless Aokiji, don't they want to fight? Luffy waved at Aokiji without blushing. You have nothing to do anyway, you see that Robin's companion is stronger, so he can protect her better, right? Aokiji and Luffy looked at Zoro at the same time, and Zoro waved suddenly. One knife blows 36 troubles. Idiot, he is the Logia demon fruit power, he can elementalize the body, you don't even know, Li Wanghao, a Haki. People are lazy to talk to you, don't practice Haki now, wait until you can hurt him. He moved naturally. Luffy complained to Zoro, feel the feeling of chi gathering in the body. A flying slash rushed towards Aokiji. Aokiji rolled his eyes and put on the blindfold again, ignoring Luffy. Seeing this, Luffy hurriedly greeted Zoro and Sanji. What are you waiting for? Cut him off. Aokiji, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly looked at Luffy with a darkened face. It's so G troublesome to rub this guy's boat. He pulled out the word Hidao and held it tightly in his hand, an unspeakable breath brewing in his body. Zoro immediately became interested. What is different about Logia? I haven't tried it yet. Luffy turned his head and immediately shouted to Zoro and Sanji. Hey, everyone, this is a good opportunity. Aokiji Admiral is the Logia demon fruit power, you can invite him as a target. Bah, practice it. Everyone started to perform their duties again. Advertisement chapter 177 is the iceberg there. Your pet dropped. Advertisement. The flying slash slashes right across Aokiji, chopping him into a lump of ice. Cut straight towards the sea. It's time. Suddenly there was a scream, and a huge toad with long hair was hit by Zoro's flying slash. Ah, Zoro, you chopped a big toad. Usopp watched carefully with the binoculars. Huh, Sanji, who was busy in the kitchen, poked his head out. The frog needs to wash off the slime with white wine, and then coat it with flour batter and fry it until golden brown. Aokiji. Ah, well, that's a frog named Yokohama. It's someone else's pet. It's not something you can eat. Aokiji said lazily. Zoro looked at the motionless Aokiji, clutching the knife, and said frantically, you should move it for me, hey. Ah, well, although you already have the prototype of Haki, but you obviously haven't practiced it yet, it really makes people feel lazy. After Aokiji finished speaking, he lay down on the deck and put on the blindfold again. Hateful. Zoro was mad at Aokiji's contempt. Save your energy, you can't hit him now. Sanji sneered as he passed by Zoro. Nani. 660. Zoro angrily turned his head and rolled up his sleeves, ready to fight. Hey, hurry up and get that toad up, it will really die in a while. Vivi anxiously pointed at the flopping frog in the water. 30 rounds of flowers blooming. Robin crossed his arms and pulled Yokozuna out of the water. Awesome, Robin is really a good devil fruit ability. Vivi was envious from the side. Really? Robin smiled a little forcedly. What's the matter? you haven't been in a good mood since Aokiji Admiral got on the ship. Vivi asked concerned. Robin shook his head upon hearing this, but did not speak. It's a pity, is it someone else's pet? It seems that it can't be eaten. Sanji looked at the fainted Yokozuna with a regretful face. Advertisement. Nami yelled at Sanji frantically. I don't want to eat frogs. Hi, Nami-san. After sailing for only half a day. A huge water capital composed of fountains appeared in front of everyone. Rao has seen the dream of Sky Island, and seeing the entire city under the water fountain feels extraordinarily magnificent. Amazing. So beautiful. Nami and Vivi looked at the fountain with twinkling stars in their eyes. Girls always love beautiful things. This is amazing. As expected of an industrial city. Usopp's jaw almost dropped from excitement. At this time, a sea train whizzed away from the water capital, which made the eyes of everyone who had never seen a steamship shine. Since Luffy and the others were not pirates at this time, the melee sailed directly into the city from the front of the capital of Seven Waters. It's amazing. The whole city is submerged in water, as if the houses are going to sink into the sea. Chopper looked around with bright eyes. The rest of the people also looked curious. On the contrary, it is the first time that Luffy lacks interest. The capital of the Seven Waters is not much different from Venice in his previous life. The only thing that catches Luffy's eyes is the layered terraced architectural style. First of all, we need to find a place where we can exchange gold for Bailey. Nami's eyes were shining with Bailey's light, and he looked around to see if there was a bank around. The biggest reward for Nami from this trip to Sky Island is the various gold ornaments that accounted for half of the ship's load. Waiting for everyone to drag a full 10 carts of gold from the melee. Aokiji looked at Luffy with a confused face and asked, are you changing careers to robbery? We are marine, and this is a reward given by others after saving refugees from fire and water. Luffy said dismissively to Aokiji. Everyone found one of the largest banks and exchanged all the gold for Bailey. Under Nami's shrewd bargaining and the identity of Luffy Marine second generation, 10 cars of gold were exchanged for 3.1 billion Baileys. According to the bank manager, the extra BEDB, 100 million is dedicated to Luffy. Joyful Nami kissed Luffy hard. How about it? Would you like me to take you to Venice, the city of water? Bah, the great health care in the capital of Seven Waters. How can you say it now? Bro, it's not comparable to poor people like you who eat public food. Luffy patted the 31 large boxes beside him and smiled at Aokiji. Ah, well, since you guys are going to repair the ship, then I won't get involved. I happen to meet some acquaintances, so I'll leave first. Aokiji leisurely got off the melee and said goodbye to Luffy. Advertisement. Luffy rolled his eyes at Aokiji speechlessly. It was agreed that the FK would escort me back to naval headquarters, and you ran away when I got there. And Luffy also knew that this guy should have left for the guy from the CP agency who was pulled by a big snake in the river just now. Wahaha, you can still meet a guy when you repair a boat. Are you the idiot who was pushing 10 carts of gold for money? Hurry up and hand over all the Baileys in your hand. At this time, a pirate with long fangs led a group of little Carla to rush out from the sidewalk. A younger brother excitedly pointed at Luffy and the boxes next to him and shouted, Boss. I saw it all, these boxes are full of money. Really? Haha, hand over your money. I'm the Moonlight Magic Karen with 36 million Baileys online. Sage. Suddenly a cold air came. The pirates who were clamoring just now were all frozen into popsicles. As soon as the elevator door opened, an open-air ship repair yard came into view. As Barry not here, I'll pay for the boat fare for this journey, see you later. A group of people surrounded the guardrail and cheered like chasing stars. Luffy shook her head helplessly, turned her head and smiled at Robin. Okay, let's go, don't be nervous, she cares about you, such a smart woman, I can't tell it, it seems that Buster Call treats you the impact is quite large. Everyone ran away from them in horror. If you want to say a man, it must be Tellstone. Robin's face was full of confusion when he heard the words, and he followed Luffy silently with his head down, looking like a little daughter-in-law, which made Sanji's eyes redden with jealousy while carrying the money. Lulu is here, she is so sophisticated, she is indeed a man among men. It's Mr. Lucci, he's so handsome. The voices of everyone's praise continued to ring out in the crowd. He grabbed the huge Yokozuna and jumped onto the river bank with him. Soon everyone took the melee to the Minato elevator. With this guy's temper, it may not be easy for him to dig him to his side. Hey, is the iceberg there? You lost your pet. Luffy shook his head. A shipyard, more than half of them are undercover agents, you are really unlucky. Aokiji waved his hand and disappeared into the crowd. Damn, what an annoying character, Luffy scratched his head helplessly. Advertisement chapter 178 It's okay for the secretary to do something. Advertisement. Hey, young man, the master of the shipyard is not something you can provoke with thin arms and legs. An old man at the side kindly persuaded Luffy. Hi, Luffy waved his hand and patted Yokozuna, I picked up a half-dead toad on the seashore. Some people said it was Bingshan's pet. Didn't it come here out of kindness? Lucci and the others looked at Lu Fei blankly, feeling a little familiar. Suddenly he saw Robin's pupils shrank on the melee. Isn't this guy the guy my chief has been looking for? Lucci leaned forward calmly, and the pigeon on his body made funny movements and said, Nani? What are you here for? Luffy narrowed his eyes, and patted Lucci's face directly with his hand. Lucci's face turned black when he saw this, and he wanted to back away, but was confused for a while by the impact of Conqueror's haki. Papa, Luffy slapped Lu Chi on the face with a smile. You'd better talk to me like a normal person, this ventriloquist sounds awkward to me. Lu Chi's face instantly became ugly. This is no. Lu Chi. CP9 long-nosed Kaku instantly appeared in front of Luffy. Sorry, our colleague is usually shy and doesn't like to communicate with others, so he uses ventriloquism to communicate. HMPH, a bunch of cockroaches in the gutter, it's annoying to watch. Luffy sneered at Lu Chi. Lu Chi and Kaku's expressions changed greatly when they heard the words, who the hell are you? Your intelligence gathering capabilities need to be improved. Luffy chuckled twice, and then his eyes became sharp. The one behind me, I advise you not to make up your mind, otherwise Lousy will destroy the spandom behind you. Lu Chi's expression changed, and he was about to attack the rude Luffy. At this time, the Mayor Bingshan came out from the crowd teasing the little white mice. It's really rare, the new marine star monkey D. Luffy actually came to the capital of Seven Waters, and really brought our capital of Seven Waters into full bloom. Lu Chi and Kaku's expressions changed when they heard the words. No wonder this guy is so arrogant, it turned out to be the popular Straw Hat Luffy of the marine system, no wonder he looks so familiar. Luffy, who has been undercover for Carrera for a long time as a boatman, did not pay attention to information other than Pluton's drawings, which also led to his unfamiliarity with Luffy. It was just a glimpse of Luffy in the newspaper before. Advertisement. Hey, I'm here to send a pet. I heard from Aokiji that this guy is your pet, so I sent it here for you. Luffy patted the huge Yokozuna frog and laughed. Bingshan saw the bandage-wrapped Yokozuna's face change. Is he injured? Luffy coughed twice. Hey, it was already like this when we met it at sea. It was struggling in the sea at that time, but fortunately it met us. Bingshan immediately expressed his gratitude after hearing the words, thank you Luffy Vice Admiral, and let you go for a special trip. It's not special, Luffy touched his nose, I just want you to help me change parts for my boat. That's easy to say, Bingshan nodded, something broke down on your boat, I'll find someone to help you fix it. It's not bad, I just want to refurbish the Mei. Luffy pointed to the Merry on the shore and said. Renovation. Bingshan was a little confused when he heard Luffy's words. This is the first time I've heard of refurbished boats. Just to ask you to replace all the boards, parts, including the keel on the Mei, and use brand new materials for it. Luffy explained to Bingshan with gestures. The corners of Bingshan's mouth twitched when he heard this, it's so different from rebuilding a new ship one by one. Well, actually, our shipyard has many new ships that are much better than your single-masted light sail. If you think it's okay, I'll give you one directly. It's a support for saving marines and fighting pirates work. Bingshan touched the little mouse in his coat pocket and said. Usopp behind him was immediately unhappy when he heard the words, what is changing a ship? Do you know how the Mei came to be? It is our partner. Bingshan complained wildly in his heart when he heard the words, your uncle, your captain's request is no different from rebuilding a ship crane. Luffy looked at Bingshan with a dissatisfied expression. Do you look down on people? Do you think that brother, I have no money? With a wave of Luffy's hand, 2 suitcases on the Mei floated in front of him, and after opening, they were full of Baileys. Brothers have plenty of money, I just hope Mayor Bingshan can, personally, help me renovate the Mei, the reward will definitely be indispensable. Asking for flowers. Advertisement. As Luffy said, several suitcases full of banknotes flew over. You must know that the Atom Treasure Tree alone cost 200 million berries, and with the miscellaneous materials, it would definitely cost no less than 300 million berries to build a good ship, or a small ship like the Merry House. So Luffy threw 1 billion Baileys directly in front of the iceberg. Looking at Nami's heart bleeding behind him. Suddenly Khalifa blushed and pushed the glasses. The enemy will be indistinguishable from us. Woo. Before Luffy finished speaking, Khalifa kicked her feet. You are sexual harassment. Bingshan said triumphantly. I am the one who has such great power to do this. 0. SMI Marseille, if you are not careful, you will lose your mind, but, I am Mr. Bingshan's exclusive secretary and I will not consider changing jobs. And just as Luffy was bargaining with Bingshan, Hadley, the pigeon on Rocky's body, flew away from Luffy's shoulder and broke. Everyone hey, you can still do this. Who knew that Bingshan would turn around and say, no, I'm not going. At this moment, Luffy suddenly appeared in front of Khalifa, hooked his chin and teased, this young secretary, is there any interest in changing jobs? We have high salaries and good treatment on board, and others work overtime and we have holidays. Do you want to think about it? I promise you are here. Afterwards, if there is something to do, the secretary will do it, nothing. Bingshan on the side said to Luffy with a gloomy face, hey, don't make Khalifa angry, I'll take this job, once this woman gets angry. Usopp and others looked in amazement at Khalifa who arranged the itinerary in an orderly manner and exclaimed, it's amazing. Khalifa pushed his glasses and said to Luffy, my Lord Marine, our mayor will have a dinner with the cadres of the glass factory in the Dokiza Hotel in 10 minutes, and then give a speech at the Liguria Square. Meeting with the mayor of Biman in 2000 and being interviewed by journalists there. There is simply no time to refurbish your old ships. Khalifa nodded calmly. Yaoshi, that's all cancelled. Everyone swallowed in unison. Bingshan turned his face, revealing a bruised and swollen face. Everyone. Advertisement Chapter 179 The entire marine belongs to our family, don't you think about it. Advertisement. Luffy, we're going shopping, are you going? After Sanji and others drove the Mei to the dock, they disembarked and waved to Luffy. You guys go, I want to watch him repair the boat. Luffy waved his hand. After all, it is about the ship elves, and it is uncertain whether the experiment of the ship of Theseus will be successful. Everyone nodded, and rented some seahorse blue to visit the water capital. Bingshan was looking around at the Mei Li. Your ship is well maintained, and it seems that the maintenance is still good. However, the material and style of this boat are not suitable for sailing on the Grand Line, and the planks have rotted in many places. Luffy nodded. After all, it was just a merchant ship built by an ordinary butler of East Blue. It is a miracle that it can persist until now. That is to say, in this life, Luffy can often, 410, protect the Mei Li from being attacked by some strange people. Even if it was damaged by the collision, the Mei Li could barely hold on to a few islands. So you need to renovate it. After all, you learned how to build boats from old Tom. 27. Luffy said with a natural smile. Bingshan froze when he heard Luffy's words. Luffy smiled and waved his hands. I'm not interested in Pluton, destroying the island with one strike. It's a pity that someone under my command can do it. Although Enel's Thunderbolt needs to rely on energy storage, its power is comparable to that of the so-called Pluton battleship. And the biggest role of Pluton is to deter the country, not to fight against the strong. So the so-called three ancient weapons, except for Shirahoshi, Luffy is not interested in the other two. With that kind of effort, it is better to think about how to develop your own Devil Fruit ability. Luffy next door can already catch thunder. And although his Devil Fruit no longer has the weakness of seawater, the top combat power of Pirate World still depends on Haki, and his current grasp of Haki is really weak. Time to get Zephyr to learn Haki on the agenda. As for finding Rayleigh. Advertisement. Bah, after 2 years of learning the basics, the dogs don't even go. All fools know that Kaido is recognized as the best teacher in Pirate World, with 1 stick of flow control, 1 stick of bullying, and 3 sticks of awakening. Secondly, this is the Zephyr who taught 3 admirals. Going to Kaido with your current strength is easy to be abused. Although you can do infinite sit-ups, but if you get caught, you will inevitably be abused. It is better to go to Zephyr first to advance, and by the way, to stimulate feelings. After all, Zephyr is a real deal admiral's combat power, although he is getting older and his strength has declined, but he is one of the few strong players who were not killed by Luffy in the movie version. Under normal circumstances, he can definitely fight back and forth with the 3 admirals. When I can wrestle with Kaido's wrists, I will go to Mr. Guy to pester me and climb to the top of pirates in one fell swoop. I feel excited just thinking about it. But at this time, Bingshan didn't know what Luffy was thinking. He trembled when he heard the word Pluton. Then he quickly denied it. I don't know anything about the Pluton drawings. The teacher destroyed all of them before he died. Seeing that Bingshan didn't believe it, Luffy didn't intend to explain too much. After all, Luffy is not a pirate, and he doesn't need to rely on performance to avoid Marine's pursuit. In Luffy's opinion, the function of the boat is for comfort. It is enough to add a seastone trim to the bottom of the boat in the later stage so that the Mei Li can sail on the calm belt. Luffy opened Rinnegan's ability to use the human way to observe the ship elf of the Mei Li. As the iceberg replaced the boards one by one, it did not affect the soul of the ship elf. This made Luffy secretly heave a sigh of relief. After all, the Mei Li in the previous life was a pity for all sea fans, and now being able to keep the ship elf completely fulfilled a wish of his previous life. Seeing that the ship elves became more and more clear with the restoration of the Merry, Luffy was relieved and closed Rinnegan in front of Khalifa. How is it? How did you think about what I said earlier? Luffy said to Khalifa with a smile. You are sexual harassment. I will not leave Mr. Bingberg. Khalifa pushed his glasses and refused. What if this is an order from CP9? Advertisement. Luffy's light voice reached Khalifa's ears. Khalifa's expression changed when he heard the words, and he subconsciously kicked Luffy. Luffy easily grasped the slender thighs in his hands. Tisk tisk, don't worry, it's not a system. After all, we are colleagues. What's wrong with this kind of mouse-like CP spy agency? Listen to the orders of those scumbags from the Wylong people. Why don't you mix with me? Marshal Marine is my grandfather, Hero Garp is my grandfather, Aokiji is my grandfather's old subordinate, Zephyr is my grandfather's colleague. You see, the whole Marine belongs to our family, don't you think about it? Khalifa shouted with an ugly face, please let me go. Luffy yelled bored. Immediately let go of Khalifa. These guys were adopted by the CP9 organization to become CP9 since they were young, and their will is hard to be shaken unless there are special circumstances. At this time, Khalifa was also full of surprise. She didn't understand why this guy knew the identities of herself and others. I came here undercover 7 years ago, and I have been staying in the Carrera Company dutifully. In any case, she didn't know that there was still an open traveler in this world. At this time, Lucci's pigeon Hadley also arrived at Blueno's tavern, and Robin's news was relayed to Enies Lobby. Spandam was overjoyed when he heard the information from Blueno. Nico Robin. That Ohara survivor. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to read the ancient text after getting the blueprint, but I didn't expect to send it to my door. Blueno on the other side of the phone reminded. My lord, now he is working under that marine celebrity Monkey D. Luffy, and he also warned us not to look for trouble. 5.4 inches. Spandam showed a disdainful expression when he heard the words, and shouted proudly to the phone bug, Marine. Marine is nothing. It's just a dog under Lord Celestial Dragons. Do you know our name, Shield of Celestial Dragons? Can a dog compare to a shield? Our CP9 has the permission to kill. As long as he dares to hinder our mission, he will be killed without mercy. Blueno nodded upon hearing the words. I see, I'm going to arrest Nico Robin right now. Spandam nodded. It's time to get the Pluton blueprint. It's been so many years. Let Nico Robin kill the iceberg and blame that popular man. Let him dare to underestimate our CP9. Bluno answered and hung up the phone, put on a mask and walked straight out of his bar. Advertisement Chapter 180 Robin was attacked, Luffy's backhand. Advertisement. I'm CP9, if you don't want your partner to die, then follow me. Bluno, who was wearing a mask, said lightly when he passed by Robin. Robin, who was looking for a bookstore with Chopper, suddenly froze. Chopper stopped excitedly in front of a bookstore and asked, Robin, can I go in and have a look? However, no one answered his question. Robin. Chopper looked back but saw no one. At this time, Robin is in a mysterious space with Bluno. The mask on Bluno's face reveals an expressionless cow hairstyle. Nico Robin, a survivor of Ohara, has a bounty of 79 million Baileys, and the bounty was cancelled because he took refuge in Marine. Since you followed us, you must already know our identities. Robin looked terrified at this moment. He remembered the demon that once appeared in Ohara. It was Spandine, the chief of CP9, who pressed the phone bug and launched the terrifying Buster Call, which plunged Ohara into a sea of flames. It seems that I know 14, so I don't need to explain too much. You should know that our CP9 is a secret agency directly under the world government and has the permission to kill. Even if your Captain Vice Admiral hinders our mission, they will all be killed by us without hesitation. If you want to keep them alive, follow us honestly. We are short of a guy who can decipher ancient texts. If you are honest, we will let that straw hat Luffy go. Robin's face was already full of despair at this time. She lowered her head and gradually lost her eyesight. Because in her understanding, the CP organization that is only under the jurisdiction of the world government is higher than the marine system. If they were to be targeted by them, even Luffy would have absolutely no way out. At this time, Robin has decided that once Luffy and others leave the capital of Seven Waters and arrive at naval headquarters, he will commit suicide immediately. Because even the CP organization would never dare to kill a popular marine vice admiral openly, let alone Luffy with a strong background. Thinking of this, Robin prepared to promise Bluno, I. However, as soon as Robin opened his mouth, his eyes were instantly covered with a touch of red. Guess ass. The king power that Luffy cast on Robin when he first met Robin. And the command he cast is also very simple, it is the same gas as Lelouch's male partner Kuchiki Vermilion Bird. Live on. This gas will be activated directly once Robin is facing desperation, or when he is determined to die. Advertisement. Do everything possible to keep yourself alive. At this time, Robin was already under the control of gas. She nodded expressionlessly. I see. Bluno nodded in satisfaction. I remember you are best at assassination, so just come and assassinate a target with me. Robin nodded without the slightest objection. Bluno is proud of himself. What son of the devil, what marine vice admiral, they can only stand aside in front of our CP organization. He casually opened the space door with the door fruit and walked out. Robin followed with his head down. However, the moment Robin went out, she crossed her hands, and activated the devil fruit ability, 3 rounds of flowers. 2 hands grew from the back of Bluno's head to cover his eyes, and a foot grew from Bluno's lower body and kicked hard to the vitals. Caught off guard, Bluno clutched his back lan and twitched before he had time to cast Iron Body. Seeing this, Robin did not continue to attack. In the state of guess, she is extremely aware of the huge gap between herself and the members of CP9. All she had to do was to run away before Bluno recovered. I saw countless arms growing on the wall in front of her, pulling Robin's body and rushing towards the downtown area. She analyzed in an instant that Bluno must have a secret mission here, and she was unwilling to cause excessive disturbances. Her only chance of escape is to cause chaos. Open your face. Countless arms grew out of Robin's body, and he quickly fled among the city buildings like a stranger. At this time, Bluno's eyes were red and he had stood up from the ground. He gritted his teeth and looked at Robin's figure and said bitterly, Nico Robin. You were looking for death. Immediately stepped on the moonwalk and rushed towards Robin. Robin looked back, and immediately saw Bluno running in the air. Robin under the control of gas frowned when he saw this, and crossed his hands directly, and a huge palm composed of countless arms appeared behind him. 60 flowers. A tree. The huge palm directly slapped Bluno in the sky to the ground like a fly. Advertisement. At the same time, several houses were knocked down by huge palms. And this huge roar finally caught the attention of the residents. Everyone looked at where Robin was. And at this moment, the air beside Robin suddenly opened, and Bluno directly reached out to grab Robin. Seeing that Robin was about to be dragged into the door fruit space by Bluno. Kill the gunpowder star. A gunpowder marble blasted directly in Bluno's face. It didn't do any damage, but it slowed him from grabbing Robin. At the same time, a figure in a suit stepped on the moonwalk and directly picked Robin down. It is Sanji who buys ingredients with Usopp. Robin-san, your knight is here. Sanji put Robin 840 on the ground and shouted with red eyes. Hey, Sanji. The enemy is still there. Protect me. Usopp looked around tremblingly. Bluno, with half his head poking out of the air, looked like a ghost to Usopp. And at this moment, Robin saw the support arrived, the gas in his eyes quickly faded, and Robin, who forcibly used the devil fruit ability beyond his own body, fainted instantly due to exhaustion. Robin sauce. Sanji hurriedly supported Robin who fell down and was shocked. At this time, Bluno's figure had disappeared from midair. Sanji frowned and looked around. Who the hell dare to attack Marine? Usopp looked around nervously. So, let's hurry back to Luffy's place. This city is haunted, and Luffy is a god anyway. Sanji looked at Usopp speechlessly. Since Sky Island came down, what Nami, Vivi, and Usopp must do every morning is to worship Luffy, and they only need to take a photo and light it up as a god statue. Hey, Sanji. Chopper also ran over crying from a distance at this time. Oh. Robin is here too. I was scared to death. I thought I lost Robin. At this time, Luffy's figure also slowly fell from the sky. He looked at the fainted Robin, and his face became ugly. CP9. You are courting death. Advertisement Chapter 181 Iron Body is harmful, redo 6 paths pain. Advertisement. Luffy looked at the comatose Robin and his face turned cold. Only now did he realize that he had underestimated these minions of the world government. In their capacity as Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, these guys still did not hesitate to attack Robin. You must know that there is no reward on Robin at this time. Luffy takes the unconscious Robin from Sanji. Sanji lit a cigarette and took a deep breath. What should I do? It looks like you know who did it. Ah. Luffy asked Sanji for a cigarette after a long absence. TMD, I almost forgot that there is an idiot officer second generation standing behind P9. CP9. What's that? Sanji asked strangely. The world government is directly under the secret cipher pole, referred to as CP9. The secret agent organization trained by the world government is engaged in various secret activities. It mainly targets the World Criminal Organization Revolutionary Army. Huh, world government. Isn't that one of our own? Why did they attack Robin? Sanji asked with a frown. Probably some idiot thinks his background is better than mine. Luffy took a deep breath of the cigarette, then threw the handle of the cigarette on the ground and stomped it out and said, so next, I'm going to let that idiot know that the backstage is also graded. Do you know where they are? Usopp leaned forward and asked Luffy. Of course, Enies Lobby, the world government is directly under the court. Luffy looked at the setting sun that was about to set and said. Although it is a court, it actually only acts on the will of the world government. Anyone who was taken to Enies Lobby must have been recognized as a criminal. In the 800-year history, there has never been a verdict of innocence. The so-called justice trial is just a fig leaf covered by the world government. At this moment, a large number of people rushed towards the shipyard on Central Street. It's not good. Mr. Bingshan has been attacked. I heard it was made by a masked man wearing a straw hat. Straw hats. Didn't a Marine Vice Admiral wear a straw hat recently? W. Are you kidding me? How could Marine attack Mr. Bingberg? That's not certain. Didn't I hear that the world government has been looking for Mr. Bingshan to change something? Sanji, Usopp and others glanced at each other, this time looking at Luffy. Look what I'm doing. I didn't hit it. Advertisement. Luffy rolled his eyes wildly at the two. It was obvious that the other party was no longer satisfied with the undercover driver under the name of Bingshan looking for Pluton blueprints, and attacked Bingberg while he was rushing to rescue Robin. Let's go. Call Zoro and the others. Lousy will let that idiot know the price of angering me. Speaking of which, Luffy walked towards the shipyard. Where are you going? Sanji yelled as he watched Luffy leave. Go and collect some interest first. After Luffy finished speaking, he disappeared in place. At this time, Bingshan was lying unconscious in the hospital, and the 5 foremen of the boatmen surrounded Bingshan. Barry, I heard that Mr. Bingshan called you to the office alone when he was attacked. Did he say something? The pigeon on Lucci's shoulder asked the gambler Barry beside him. Barry shook his head solemnly. Mr. Bingshan asked me to burn something. I feel very strange. Lucci and Kaku looked at each other. Did you burn it? Barry shook his head. Didn't you guys come here before it was too late? Damn world government. I have been trying to get something from Mr. Bingshan before, but now I just robbed it directly. What does this have to do with pirates? The difference. Lucci and Kaku looked at each other and smiled. Did you see something? HMPH, talking about refurbishing the ship as an excuse. How could someone make such a ridiculous request? It seems that he came here to assassinate Mr. Bingshan in the name of repairing the ship. Barry gritted his teeth and said. Lucci and Kaku nodded upon hearing the words. Let's go to guard the door, you watch Mr. Bingshan. Saying that, the two walked straight towards the door. Sudden, Luffy's cold voice came from outside the door. Stop acting, it makes me sick. With a bang, a burly figure smashed in from the outside. Luffy hugged the unconscious Robin, and slowly walked out the door. Lucci and Kaku saw the face of the figure on the ground change. Quote exclamation mark question mark quote. Luffy stepped on the head of this burly figure with long pink hair and looked at Lucci and Kaku. I warned you, don't mess with me, you don't listen, want the Pluton blueprint. Take your life for it. Quote. As he said that, Luffy directly stepped on the Kumadori, who returned the Grandmaster's life, into the ground. The moment they saw Robin, Lucci and Kaku knew that Blueno had obviously missed. Advertisement. Lucci stepped forward with a sneer. You need to know what you are doing now. We are an agency directly under the world government. We are on the same level as your Marine, and we have the permission to kill you that your Marine does not have. You are a Vice Admiral, dare to move us. However, before Lucci finished speaking, he saw black sticks appearing out of thin air around Luffy and sticking them into the lifeless Uki. At first I thought it was cruel to make this thing, but now it seems that it suits you guys. Luffy hugged Robin and found a comfortable sofa to sit on. Under Lucci's shocked eyes, Kumadori slowly got up from the ground. 6 paths pain-hungry keto. Snuggle. Lu Chi frowned and shouted, and the answer was a huge fist. Lu Chi leapt forward, and the wall behind him was directly smashed through. Hey, Nugget, what are you doing? Seeing this, Lu Chi tried to wake up his companion, but he responded with a desperate attack. There is a flaw. The old man took it. Long-nosed Kaku directly moved to Luffy's side with a shaved instant, Tempest Kick Dragon Break. Kaku directly kicked Luffy with both feet of Li Jiao from top to bottom. So, you idiots, when will you understand the gap between us? Luffy looked at Robin in his arms without looking up. The repulsive force of Shenluo Tianzhong has spread all over. Bang! Kaku's Tempest Kick collided with Shenluo Tianzhong. In the eyes of everyone, Kaku seems to be walking in the air. Kaku's face changed, and he wanted to jump away from Luffy, but when Luffy stretched out his hand, he felt a terrifying suction force from his hand, and his whole body flew towards Luffy uncontrollably. At the same time, countless black sticks were summoned by Luffy summoning. Not good. Kaku's face changed. Chen. Luffy looked at Kaku's iron body and smiled. Iron body is harmful. In the next second, Kaku was forked into a sieve by Luffy. 6 Paths Pen Hellway. Manufacture complete. Advertisement Chapter 182 Luffy's experiment. This sick world is dead. Advertisement. Kaku. Lu Chi yelled. However, it is impossible for Kaku to hear Lu Chi at this time. Kaku also stepped on the 6 stile and rushed towards Lu Chi. What the hell happened to you guys? Seeing this, Lu Chi sneered again, but what responded to him was the fat guns of the two. Seeing this, Lu Chi no longer tried to wake up the two of them, and directly used his overwhelming strength to kick Nugget away. I think you may have forgotten who was the head of CP9. Lu Chi sneered and looked at the cuddling with twisted neck. However, he couldn't laugh at the next moment, because Kaku directly summoned a gate of hell and threw the fallen Snuggle into it. Within 2 seconds, the Snuggle walked out of the gate of hell intact. Nani? How is it possible? Lu Chi looked shocked when he saw that even the clothes had been repaired. At this time, Luffy also stood up from the sofa, and Kaku and Nugget stood in front of Luffy together. I saw Luffy said frivolously. As expected, you who specialize in physical arts are simply excellent materials for making 6 Paths Pain. After the original 6 Paths Pain is completed, you can only have the corresponding ninjutsu of 6 Paths Pain, and the ninjutsu of the deceased is not used. In other words, the original 6 Paths Pain was nothing more than a vehicle for Rinnegan. Today, the pain made by Luffy is different. The CP-7309, which has been returning directly by physical skills, still maintains its original physical strength after being made into a puppet. The skills used by the body can be easily used as long as Luffy knows how to use them. For the rest of the experiment, only the furious guy in front of him was left. Luffy stretched out his hand and ticked it contemptuously. Let me see the strength of the head of CP9, the legendary spy agency directly under the world government. Lu Chi's face became gloomy. Don't think that you can win easily like this. I am not of the same strength as them. Lu Chi sneered, and his whole body began to swell. Zone Cat Fruit Leopard Form. Advertisement. I'm afraid you don't know who you are going to fight against. We are CP9 that does not exist except CP1 to 8. We have the legal permission to kill anyone who hinders our mission. See what I look like now. Devil fruit is easy for us to get. Thinking of you who are capable of Paramesha rubber fruit, we all hate it. Rob Lucci raised his paw and looked at Luffy with a sneer and said. Luffy placed Robin gently on the sofa. I really don't know whether to laugh at you for being stupid or ignorant, but your superiors want my rubber BECD fruit very hard. Luffy twisted his neck and made a kaba sound. Forget it, it's normal for poor people like you who are abandoned at any time to have limited knowledge. The CPO of the legendary Celestial Dragon's Shield may not be as stupid as you and your officer. So, second gear, shave, so fast. Lu Chi's face changed. Even if he transformed into a human beast, he still couldn't see Luffy's movements clearly. I don't want a little guy like you to live until more than 1,000 episodes. I don't have the patience to see you pretend to appear in front of me again. So, die. Luffy gave a low cry, and a pitch-black palm directly penetrated Lu Chi's chest. How can it be? Rob Lucci looked at the arms on his chest in shock. Why, yes, the gap is so big. The huge leopard slowly returned to its low-profile Hawkeye appearance. Mr. Bingberg, what happened? Khalifa, who heard the noise and came in to check, opened the door and saw Lucci's tragic death. Dozens of black sticks were inserted into Lucci's body fiercely. Is it really as I guessed? Excitement flashed in Luffy's eyes. Stay inside for me. Rinnegan in Luffy's eyes twirled wildly, and the black stick on Luffy's body trembled for a while and then returned to calm. Under Khalifa's horrified eyes, Luffy threw Lu into the gate of hell. Lu Chi, who was completely intact in an instant, stood behind Luffy again. Advertisement. The circles in his eyes prove that Lu Chi is no longer the high-spirited CP9 at this time. Luffy raised his eyebrows, and Lu Chi, who had transformed into a human being, directly transformed into a leopard form. Luffy used the Sharingan to suppress the will of the devil fruit in the leopard form of the cat fruit in Luffy's corpse. Hey, isn't this our secretary? Why are you free to visit the boss? I thought you were busy escorting Robin. Luffy turned to look at Khalifa with a smile. Khalifa trembled all over. Who the hell are you? Am I right, Mr. Bingberg? I don't like someone pointing a gun at my crew. Luffy finally turned his head to the unconscious figure on the hospital bed. At this time, Bingberg pointed a short gun at the unconscious Robin. That's not what a man should do. Luffy smiled and lowered his head to pull Robin up. Bingshan frowned and looked at Luffy. Are you here for the Ming Pluton design, just like those world government guys? That's right, you are the world government's spy agency second only to CPO, who am I still not sure about? I'm Monkey D. Luffy, a marine, or a vice admiral. Pluton blueprints. Luffy sneered, if I wanted to, I could conjure something 100 times better than Pluton right now. People at the general level can easily do it, it's just a little troublesome. Bingshan's face was full of disbelief, and he said coldly, third generation ancient weapon and even the world government are coveted. If they didn't covet the 3 ancient weapons, how could they bring the trouble of Robin on board? Luffy walked slowly in front of Khalifa, pinched Khalifa's chin and said, you are mine, you can't run away, I want you to see the face of your so-called chief, you are just a pawn they discarded after using them. Quote. The ancients could build Pluton, but no one can build it now. The so-called peace gained by strangling an innocent little girl is worthless. Hearing this, Robin opened his eyes suddenly and looked at Luffy's resolute expression, which was completely different from the usual idleness. For a moment, he was moved, admired, and respected in his heart. At this moment, Robin, who closed his eyes tightly, trembled. The reason why Pluton is called third-generation ancient weapon is nothing more than that this thing can be produced. Obviously at this time she has woken up from a coma and heard Bingshan's words. My own collection of Kali Mecha Mirage is still waiting for my exchange, destroying the island with just one blow. Luffy stepped forward, caressing his hair, and replied with a sneer, the performance of a coward, as long as there are people, the battle will never stop, succumbing to a weapon in ancient times, but we don't know that human civilization is moving forward. There are some things that you can't pick up once you lose them. If you really rely on sacrificing innocent people in exchange for the so-called peace, this sick world will die if it dies. 20 years ago, my teacher named Tom cared about this Ohara survivor named Nico Robin. She is the only seed capable of resurrecting the ancient weapon. As the heir to her will, I have the obligation to end this. The world is at war with demons. Let's go, Master, I'll take you, little love, to find the place. Advertisement Chapter 183 Buster Call. That's lousies. Advertisement. Bingshan watched Hockey's Luffy weakly put down the firecracker in his hand. Luffy took Robin and walked towards the door, followed by Lucci, Kaku and Nugget who had turned into Six Paths Pain. Hey, woman, contact the responsible CP officer, I'm going to Enies Lobby. Luffy walked through the door and said to Khalifa who stood trembling in front of the door. Then he turned around and looked at Bingshan. The boat is here with you, continue to follow my request, remember that it is a piece of wood for me to change. I hope the boat has been repaired when I come back. Bingshan looked at Luffy when he heard the words, are you serious? Luffy looked at the iceberg strangely, do I seem to be joking? Then Luffy put his arms around Robin with his right hand and Khalifa with his left hand and walked out the door. Bingshan looked at Luffy's leaving figure, Ying couldn't speak for a long time. Monkey D. Luffy, he's really an unpredictable guy. At this time, the 3 foremen, Barry, Lulu, and Dollstone, recovered from the previous shock, Mr. Bingshan, Lucci and the others. Bingshan looked at several people seriously and said, I will forget everything that happened just now. If you still want to live. Seeing this, the 3 of them nodded with lingering fear. At this time, Zoro and others were already waiting outside the hospital. It's so slow, Zoro said, rolling his eyes as he watched Luffy walk out. Nami pointed at Khalifa with wide eyes and raised her voice, what's going on? Luffy hastily let go of Khalifa's arm to show his innocence. Ahem, newly recruited secretary. Khalifa subconsciously said, you are sexual harassment. Suddenly Nami turned into fangs. Then on the way to the sea train, Luffy recounted Robin's experience and encounters to everyone. At this moment, everyone looked at Robin with sympathy. Then why is CP9 so hateful? Even 8-year-olds are not spared. Advertisement. Nami said angrily, shaking his fist. The girlfriends Usopp and Vivi on the side nodded in agreement. Luffy, Zoro and Sanji did not have Nami and others. Nami shared the same hatred, because the 3 knew that this is the end of those who have no strength to provoke the strong. When Zoro challenged Hawkeye, he also went with the belief that he must die. Since the world government regards the search for lost history as a taboo, the group of historians in Ohara should have thought of their end. After all, the world government is well aware of the whereabouts of the 3 ancient weapons that can threaten their rule in the text of history. Not to mention the 100-year blank history that has shaken the foundation of the people's hearts. All in all, if you want true freedom, you must have sufficient strength and awareness. Luffy put on the marine cloak handed by Zoro, and walked towards the station in the first place. And among Enies Lobby, Spandam was answering Blueno's call with a cup of coffee. Hello. Did Nico Robin catch it? Sorry, I ran into her marine companion by accident, and retreated first because I was worried about exposing Lucci's plan. Huh, idiot, can't even catch a woman. Spandam was so angry that he jumped up and down. Forget it though, Spandam drank a cup of coffee leisurely, I just received a communication from Khalifa, and they've already done it at Iceberg, and they've got the design blueprint for Pluton. In this way, that woman is useless, even if that woman can find the legendary Pluton, it is not as good as I can mass-produce Pluton. Well, forget it, let's just sell Marine to save face. It's a pity that the arrest warrant issued by my father was revoked by a kid in Marine who used the back door. Damn it, how angry. Spandam laughed triumphantly, I heard that the kid took the place of Colonel Marine to escort the Pluton drawings for me just to show his favor. What marine celebrity? What marine vice admiral? It's just a dog raised by the world government. With this performance, as long as I can enter CP0. Even if it's that marine vice admiral, I will bow my head when I see it. Ha 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 ha. At this time, Bluno pushed open the door and walked in, still holding the phone bug to talk to Spandam. Asking for flowers. Spandam. Advertisement. UF asterisk 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 G, you're back, what are you calling? Sir, I feel something is wrong. After Nico Robin escaped, Lucci couldn't be contacted, so I came back by sea train first. Bluno walked into the room and reported on his own. Spandam looked at the guy in front of him with contempt. I think you are cowardly. Now the key to unlock the ancient weapon is coming like me on the Dacheng sea train. The military power that can destroy the world is about to fall into my hands. HMPH humph, ha ha ha. Bluno looked at the arrogant Spandam and finally didn't say much. It seems that there is no need to exist. A court acting solely on the will of the world government. But what is frightening is that their corpses are sitting in front of them as if they were alive. The train sailed on the sea for 2 hours, and the silhouette of Enies Lobby appeared in everyone's eyes. Open black lens bracket. Dear passengers, hello, the train from the blue station directly to Enies Hall is about to enter the station. Please prepare for the passengers who get off. Close black lens bracket. That's the shadow that represents Robin. They had never seen such a miraculous thing. The ear-piercing roar of the train made the nearby sea kings retreat in annoyance, and the high-strength car body is enough to gallop in the big waves. After Luffy finished speaking, a golden phone bug appeared in the session. A broadcast sounded. Launch authorization of Buster Call with. Zoro and the others looked curiously at the sea train roaring past the sea. Luffy had a strange look on his face. Luffy stood up slowly from his seat, the word, justice, on the cloak whistling. Khalifa was still sitting behind her trembling. At this moment she could confirm that her undercover colleagues were absolutely dead. And at this time in the sea train, Luffy bold and grandiose sits first in a car. Even Luffy had to sigh. As expected of a shipbuilder for One Piece, being able to design a train that sails on the Grand Line is inseparable from his identity as a Murloc. Advertisement Chapter 184 Group destroys CP9, Buster Call launches. Advertisement. Master Lucci, you have worked hard undercover for a long time. When Luffy got out of the car, there were tall and straight CP5 officials on both sides. One of the dwarves obsequiously put a fur coat on Lucci, who had become pain. Luffy naturally paid attention to him lazily, and walked straight to the Enies Lobby in the center of the Enies Lobby, followed by Zoro and others. As expected of CP9, the aura is really good. That guy is Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Luffy, I heard he was the guy who killed K. Lakadar. How did they come together? Major Nami, Princess Vivi, and the original Devil's son Nico Robin. No, they are all so beautiful, I am so envious. Colonel Zoro really has 3 knives, he looks so handsome. Members of many CP agencies watched the group and whispered. The welcoming line continued all the way to the outer main gate. 2 titans scratched their heads and pushed the huge gate open. A suspended island appeared in front of everyone. As this Enies Lobby, Chopper stared dumbfounded at the trial court floating in midair with only 727 and a path. It is surrounded by huge waterfalls on all sides, and a suspension bridge connects to the gate in the middle. At this time, inside the hall, Spandam and the only 3 CP9s who had just executed the assassination of the cadres of the Revolutionary Army branch were waiting for Lucci and the others. Lucci and the others seemed to be coming here, Spandam said with a smile while holding the samurai sword in his hand. It's our most satisfying gift. Then he turned his head and looked at the 3 people behind him and asked loudly. Obviously today is the first time in 5 years that the 8 members of CP9, including me, gather together. But look at what's going on in this newspaper. This time, the instructions for the assassination plan of the branch chief of the Revolutionary Army clearly stated that only 3 people should be killed. But now 23 people have disappeared. Come and listen for a reason. Jabra hurriedly explained. In the beginning, it was really smooth, but when we invaded, I don't know why our plan was discovered, and we had to launch a counterattack. On the other hand, Fukuro unzipped his mouth, because I accidentally leaked the assassination plan on the street, chirping. Jabra. Nani, is it you again, Otonashi Fukuro? How did your zipper grow? When will you get rid of your big mouth? Saying that, Jabra angrily tugged Fukuro's fat face to and fro. Spandam on the side looked aggrieved at the maverick subordinates. He became the leader of CP9 through his father, and these guys never thought highly of him. And at this moment, with a bang, the door was kicked open suddenly. It's easy to get rid of this problem. If you die, you won't leak the secrets. Advertisement. A frivolous voice came. The figure of Luffy in the marine suit came in from the door. Oh yo, isn't this our popular Marine Vice Admiral? Spandam looked at Luffy and mocked. Why do you have time to escort the blueprint for me? Do you want me to speak well for you in front of Lord 5 Elders? A few words. Ha ha ha. At this time, Sanji suddenly saw Bluno sitting on the sofa. Oh. The masked man can't be wrong. It's him. At this time, Sanji has mastered observation hockey, so he can naturally recognize Bluno wearing a mask. Ah, well, don't be angry, everyone is serving the celestial dragons, it's just that they accidentally caught the wrong person. Spandam said unapologetically flippantly. Hey, you guys, why don't you come here quickly? Where are the blueprints I want? Spandam looked at Lu Chi and the others behind Luffy and shouted angrily, "They have already arrived at the place, why are they still standing behind them, with no eyesight to see?" At this time, Lu Chi walked forward slowly. "Come on, hurry up and get the blueprint." Spandam looked at Lu Chi who came forward and rubbed his hands together. Standing beside Luffy, Khalifa was trembling and too scared to speak. Jabra looked at the strange Luffy with dissatisfaction on the sofa in the position of the uncle lying down. "Hey, Luffy, don't you know how to say hello after seeing you for so long?" Lu Chi in the world turned his head and glanced, and shot the finger pistol right in the forehead of the defenseless Jabra. With a puff, Jabra, who was already weaker, died on the spot without even reacting. Bluno, Fukuro and Spandam looked at Lu Chi in horror. "Hey, Lu Chi, what are you doing?" Spandam yelled at Lu Chi angrily. However, Lu Chi kicked him hard in response. With a bang, Spandam felt a sharp pain, and his whole body was kicked into the wall. He, who was already weak, felt like his whole body was falling apart. Had it not been for Luffy's excessive control, Spandam might have died on the spot. "Cough, it hurts." Spandam coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood, clutched his stomach and yelled, "Damn Lu Chi. How dare you attack the officer? Unforgivable, I must report to my father to let you die without a burial." Fukuro also looked at Lu Chi with disbelief. "Lu Chi, what's wrong with you?" Chirp. At this time, Hell Road Kaku and Hungry Kido also walked forward slowly, facing the only remaining Fukuro and Bluno. Bang bang. Thinking of the applause, Luffy smiled and walked in front of Lu Chi and squatted down to look at Spandam. "How about this big scene I directed?" After the CP9 members completed the task, they coveted the ancient Pluton blueprints, rebelled in Enies Lobby and attacked Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Luffy and Chief Spandam. Advertisement. Quote. Chief Spandam died heroically. Marine Vice Admiral Luffy struggled to resist the elite of world government agent CP9, who was superior to ordinary people, and launched Buster Call in anger, and finally, under the leadership of Monkey D. Luffy Vice Admiral, successfully defeated the evil killed in front of the Gate of Justice, defending the justice of Marine. Luffy smiled kindly at Spandam. "What an exciting script for the people of the world, you think so?" "The poor officer who died in the Enies Lobby incident." Spandam looked at Luffy with horror on his face. "It's you. They are all controlled by you." Khalifa couldn't hold on any longer and sat down on the ground in fright. Lu Chi and the others are already dead. Bluno's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly used his life-saving trick, the air door, to escape, but was kicked away by the awakened Sanji. Sanji, who also practices Marine 6 styles, is not something Bluno can fight against. Otonashi Fukuro just wanted to use the moonwalk he is good at to escape, but was cut by the 36 trouble winds that Zoro had just cultivated. Spandam looked at the heavy casualties and trembled all over his body. Monkey D. "Luffy, do you know what you are doing? You are fighting against the world government. Even if you are Garp's grandson, you will never be able to bear such a crime. My father is Spandine. He will avenge me if you kill me." "Hey, how could I kill you? It was obviously your subordinate who killed you. Look at this big guy. His devil fruit ability is not something we can use." Luffy corrected Spandam's sentence with a serious face. As soon as Luffy's voice fell, Lu Chi's body behind him swelled rapidly and quickly turned into a human beast form. Spandam looked at Lu Chi in shock and yelled in horror, "You are not dead. Wake up, Lu Chi. If you touch me, you will be finished." In his understanding, it is impossible for a dead person to use the devil fruit ability. In the next second, Lu Chi's sharp leopard claws directly inserted into Spandam's heart. Spandam stretched out his 4.4 hand unwillingly. "Obviously the world is in my hands. It hasn't been said that the whole person is silent again." Luffy asked Usopp behind him, "How is it? Is it recorded?" Usopp gave a thumbs up. "It's all recorded. The influence of Sky Island is really good." At this time, Luffy walked to Bluno in the ruins. "Paramesha, fruit of the door, great ability, but it's a pity that the direction of development is wrong." Luffy looked at Bluno as if sizing up a dead man. Bluno stretched out his hands tremblingly in front of himself. "Wait a minute. I can surrender to you. I won't say a word I saw today." However, the sharp black stick pierced through his body. Luffy looked at Bluno coldly. "I said that only the dead will not leak the secret." Then Luffy turned back to the crowd and muttered, "What's more, you did something to my lovely little concubine. Nami. North Dish." Boom. Luffy covered his head and took out the golden phone bug in his hand and went dark. Advertisement Chapter 185, a new template that has never been used before. The Sword of Damocles. Advertisement. We are the first-class guards of Enies Lobby. The faithful dogs of the law. The law dogs for short. Ordered by the presiding judge Bass Carl Bill, we are here to punish you. A group of guys with double knives on huskies stood in front of Six Paths Pain. After ending Spandam's sinful life, Luffy directly controls CP9, which has been made into Six Paths, to run rampant in Enies Lobby. A large number of officials of the CP organization were easily killed by 6 people, and Marine casually knocked out half of them and kept the other half, so that they could retreat from Enies Lobby alive. After all, most Marines are just taking orders from their superiors, and the CP agency, the dark secret service of the world government, will not end so well. At this time, the entire Enies Lobby was in a mess, and the guards were even more vulnerable. All because Enies Lobby, the face of the world government, has no pirates who dare to attack. Therefore, although it belongs to one of the 3 major world government institutions along with Naval Headquarters and Marineford, its guards are the most lax among the 3. Looking at this group of loyal dogs belonging to the world government, Six Paths Pain showed no mercy, relying on Superman's Marine Six styles to carry out indiscriminate killings. Soon, the group of guards belonging to the court died 14 and wounded 1. At this time, Vivi and others in the room showed unbearable expressions on their faces. The protagonist group in the original book has never killed an enemy. As long as they fight Luffy, they all do sit-ups collectively. Even the little guys in the early stage jumped around in front of Luffy in the late stage, which made Luffy, who is also the king of Luffy, speechless. Is this really good? Vivi asked Luffy, looking at the dead and injured CP agency officials below. They probably didn't mess with us, did they? Luffy sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows and explained calmly. You have to remember that we are Marine, and what we follow is justice. Now the world government has rotted from the root, and if you want peace, you must have bloody sacrifices. If it weren't for me, the same goes for Alabasta if you step in. And the group of guys below are rotten leaves in the world government. As a just law enforcement agency, there shouldn't be such guys doing dirty work behind the scenes. This will only make the world government and the Marine lose its credibility. Do you know why these guys are here? Because there are some people behind world government who want the Pluton design drawings in Bingshan's hands. Unfortunately, Bingshan is very smart. With his own talents, he has supported the shipyard in the City of Water, organized it into a large company, and tried his best to cooperate with it. Dealing with the world government, which has a bloody feud, finally established the company's position as a world government contractor. Nearly 50% of the warships in Marine are from the Carrera Company, so even these rats in the gutter dare not touch him openly. And this group of CP organizations exists just when the world government is unable to do anything on the bright side, trying to arrange some unwarranted charges, or using the method of blaming others to achieve their desired goals. For example, in the previous attack on the iceberg, the person who was attacked was a masked man wearing a straw hat. Although everyone knew it was fake, it was fine for the public not to know. Advertisement. Rather than saying that these guys are government officials, it is not an exaggeration to say that they are an assassination group in the cloak of the government. Do you know what this is? Luffy took out the golden phone bug in his arms and said to Vivi. Robin on the side hugged his shoulders tightly and trembled. The phone bug launched by Buster Call. Luffy smiled slightly. That's right, this is authorized by the world government. Marine is responsible for organizing an indiscriminate and destructive attack on the area that sends out the signal, to completely wipe out things and people in an area that threatens the rule of the world government. And this thing was given to me by Aokiji. Luffy smiled crookedly. That is to say, Aokiji already believes that this trial court, which is completely acting on the will of the world government, has threatened the justice in his heart and wants to use my hand to make a deal. Robin looked at the phone bug in a daze. Vivi also fell silent when he heard the words, and the rest of the Straw Hats, since they were not influenced by the Luffy who played pirates in the original timeline, they naturally didn't feel so bad about cutting them all the way. Whether it is Nami, who was ruled by pirates for 8 years and was beaten by Colonel Marine Moth Mouse, or Zoro, who was almost killed by the son of Monka, they are quite disgusted with these moths. At this time, most of the Marines above the Enies Lobby have basically evacuated from the island. Numerous CP agencies were all surrounded by the Supreme Court, which claimed not to make acquittal verdicts. The presiding judge, Buzz Carl Bill, with 3 heads, yelled at Six Paths Pain. The head on the left yelled, "You actually stormed the trial court. I convict you." The head on the right cowardly retorted, "The other party is CP9 who has the license to kill, innocent." The retarded head in the middle thought for a while and said, "A compromise, death penalty." Luffy also cooled down when he saw through pain that the supreme judge of the so-called trial court was such a joke like mental retardation. At this time, the huge door of justice behind Enies Lobby slowly opened a gap. 10 large warships representing the highest combat order of the Marine set out from the Gate of Justice. Advertisement. Luffy immediately sensed the arrival of Buster Call through observation hockey. Talent ability. Sanctuary. The Sword of Damocles will appear in the sky above the sanctuary when Wong Quan's sanctuary is activated. The indicator of Wong Quan's strength. Each Wong Quan's sword will be due to its character and the strength of the force varies. Current loading template. The third Wong Quan, the Red King Zhou Fangzhen. The appearance integrity of the sword is inversely proportional to the strength of Wong Quan. The stronger the strength, the more broken the sword. When the power exceeds the limit allowed by the rules, the sword will fall while destroying Wong Quan. It will also affect everything around. Close black lens bracket. At the same time, over Enies Lobby, a huge and gorgeous broken red sword of Damocles appeared in midair. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. At this time, the huge sword of Damocles is crumbling. All the DP agencies that are still on the island are looking at the giant sword in the sky. Skill move 2. Defense protective shield. Using the sanctuary as the medium, it has a strong defensive power. It once blocked the attack of King Ching. Everyone was stunned when they heard the words. Then what are you going to do? He slowly got up and turned towards the door, and said to Zoro and the others, go to the Gate of Justice and join Vice Admiral who came to support him. This is Luffy's new template right after he comes down from Sky Island. Equipment. Symbol. Sword of Damocles. The third Wong Quan among the anime kings is the template of Zhou Fangzhen, the King of Red. Open black lens bracket skill move 1. Attack fire control technique. The power held by the Red King can manipulate violent flames. Close black lens bracket. At this moment, blood red flames suddenly burst out from Luffy's body and covered his whole body. Destroy the evidence. Character reset countdown. 4 days, 13 hours and 48 minutes. Character reduction degree. 99%. What's this? Advertisement Chapter 186 Aokiji Shot, my name is Xiao. Advertisement. Luffy came to this template immediately after coming down from Sky Island. But he never used this template. The reason is also very simple. All because of another name for the Sword of Damocles. Nuclear Sword. Since the power carried by the Sword of Damocles is limited, the stronger the owner, the more broken the sword will be. In the end, Kai Wang Zhou Fengzhen was voluntarily killed by others because of the loss of power that caused the Sword of Damocles to fall. And with Luffy's strength, when the template is randomized, the restoration degree is already close to full. This also means that as long as Luffy uses the template, he will face the danger of the Sword of Damocles falling at any time. Luffy himself can be resurrected with full blood due to the code template, but everything around Luffy will be reduced to ashes. In other words, Luffy at this time is completely equivalent to a walking nuclear bomb. And it's about to explode anytime. At this time, Aokiji was riding a bicycle and watching the fleeing Marines. At this time, a gratified smile appeared on his face. Sure enough, I was not mistaken about the grandson of the old boss. At the beginning, he was ordered to implement Ohara's Buster Call. Originally, the Buster Call was aimed at scholars on Ohara Island, and ordinary people had special marine evacuation ships. As soon as Akainu went down, Aokiji began to doubt Marine's so-called justice. Originally, Ohara's Buster Call was to make an example to others, to prevent those who want to use the ancient weapon or the disappearing 100-year history to trigger a world war again. In Aokiji's view, knowing that exploring history is illegal but still going against the current, this is self-defeating. The thing of justice will change form according to the position, so Aokiji does not regret performing Ohara's Buster Call that time. However, Akainu smashed the refuge ship and the justice in his heart with a single shot, which led to Aokiji taking the initiative to let Robin go. Aokiji was very relieved to see that Luffy let Marine go without involving innocent soldiers. At this time, the warships that appeared from the Gate of Justice began to bombard Enies Lobby. The entire Enies Lobby, where flowers symbolized the absolute justice of the world government, was completely reduced to ruins. As this Buster Call backquote. Looking at Enies Lobby, Zoro and others who had been reduced to a sea of flames, they were shocked. Even on a warship, Robin still felt trembling all over. Nami stepped forward to stop the trembling Robin and comforted him. It's okay, you are a Marine now, and Luffy is different from those people. Saying that, Nami pointed to Marine who escaped from Enies Lobby. Advertisement. Robin felt a little better seeing Marine evacuated from Enies Lobby alive. At this time, Luffy has entered the final stage. I saw that he was full of fire, and slowly rose to the sky. The Sword of Damocles above his head was full of cracks. How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice? How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice? How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice? How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice? Aokiji will leave the rest to you. Luffy, who was pretending, suddenly yelled at Aokiji. Aokiji looked at Luffy, who looked like the sun with a dazed expression, completely unaware of what he meant. Sudden, the Sword of Damocles above Luffy's head began to fall towards Enies Lobby. A terrifying sense of crisis emerged in Aokiji's heart. My grass. Aokiji couldn't help but curse. A sage. Aokiji stuck his hands in the sea. In an instant, a terrifying ice wall wrapped the entire Enies Lobby tightly. Buster Call's bombardment can only make small craters on the solid ice. Apparently even armament hockey Aokiji is attached to it. Ghost Spider and others who participated in the Buster Call looked at the ice ball wrapped in Enies Lobby in amazement. What's wrong? Why did Master Aokiji make a move? Is this stopping us from doing the Buster Call? The 5 vice admirals looked at Jian Bing with confusion. Suddenly a violent shaking accompanied by harsh roar came from the ice puck. Aokiji's defensive ice puck shook violently, and soon exploded like fireworks. Boom. Loud noise accompanied by white light filled the sky and earth, and Enies Lobby, known as the island that never sleeps, was completely white and couldn't see anything. I do not know how long it has been. Everyone recovered from tinnitus and blindness. All Marines looked around in panic. What happened? Advertisement. Have you been attacked? At this time, a soldier looked in horror at the direction of Enies Lobby and sat down on the ground, trembling uncontrollably in front of him. Seeing this, the general yelled loudly, "How decent! How scary!" After he finished speaking, he turned his head to look in the direction the soldier was pointing at, opened his eyes wide and swears, "I'm stupid." At this time, the originally magnificent Enies Lobby has completely become a giant crater. Countless seawater is pouring into it crazily. Aokiji watched Enies Lobby's miserable state and wiped his cold sweat. This guy can't really get Pluton out, can he? That's the power of destroying the island with one blow, right? At this time, a symbol similar to a seagull suddenly appeared in the sky of Enies Lobby, flashing golden light. Luffy's figure was reshaped from the golden light. God power code. Damn. Luffy opened his eyes and looked around with lingering fear. It is indeed a nuclear bomb sword that wiped out 700,000 people plus a blue king. Fortunately, I didn't use the template before, otherwise Zoro and the others would lose their lives. Not dead enough. Luffy looked around and nodded in satisfaction, as expected of the peak combat power of pirates who can freeze the sea and change the terrain. Even if such a terrifying attack was blocked, although it only blocked the aftermath, this is enough to show the horror of Admiral's strength. Only the last step remains. A portal suddenly opened in the air in front of Luffy. Lucci and other CP9 who turned into pain walked out of it and flew in the air to confront Luffy. The sharp-eyed Marine pointed at several people and shouted, "Look at the sky. Luffy Vice Admiral and those traitors." I saw that the road in the world turned into a leopard man, pointed at Luffy and said contemptuously, "You are lucky this time. We have mastered the power to destroy the world. Even if you are lucky enough to stop us this time, you will eventually be destroyed by us in the future. Kings. I will change my name to Pain in the future. It is God. We will devote ourselves to creating a world where everyone is equal from now on. Our organization is named Shao County." Saying that, Bluno opened the air door, and Pain walked into the door one by one. Luffy on the opposite side said with a righteous face, "I, Monkey D. Luffy, swear here that I will definitely stop such an evil force like you. As long as you know where the organization appears, I will definitely appear and expel you with all my strength. In the name of absolute justice." The Marines below watched with enthusiasm, and the fear caused by the explosion of the nuclear bomb sword in their hearts was swept away. In a daze, they seemed to see the Garp the Fist who once defeated the Rock's pirates. Everyone looked at Luffy with admiration in their eyes. Only Zoro and others looked at Luffy who was doing pause with black lines all over his head. Sanji poked Usopp who was recording with a video phone bug. "Look at him, you can't even lie to him." Advertisement Chapter 187 The world is shocked, Morgan's madness. Advertisement. Snapped. In the marshal's office. Sengoku angrily slapped a report on the desk. "Who can tell me what's going on?" Sengoku yelled loudly, "It's obviously talking about leveling the buildings above the ground. Why is the entire Enies Lobby gone? Akatsuki Organization. Pain. Do you think I'm a fool? A few CP9 scumbags can escape from 6 naval headquarters vice admirals and 1 admiral. And destroy the entire Enies Lobby." Sengoku looked at the report and slammed the table loudly and growled. The messenger below said tremblingly, "Marshal, I really didn't report indiscriminately. All 5 vice admirals who went to Enies Lobby reported like this. According to Mr. Aokiji, they should have mastered the design blueprint of Pluton and completed the main gun attack. Enies Lobby was destroyed by the attack of Pluton weapon." Sengoku's face turned ugly, he looked at the report from Vice Admiral, and passed it to his goat. "Damn world government. The Tom incident 20 years ago has not given up until now. Let a group of spies steal weapons that can destroy the world. Now it's all right, let me see what you do. Damn it, at such an important moment, another Shao organization came out, the idiots of the day group." Sengoku swearing around in the office, "Where's Aokiji? 450 inches. Report. I have returned with Vice Admiral who went out to sea, and I am on my way back." The messenger rushed to report. "Where's Luffy Vice Admiral?" Luffy Vice Admiral said that their boat is still in the capital of 7 waters, so they returned to the capital of 7 waters. Sengoku nodded when he heard the words. In this report, everyone gave credit to Luffy Vice Admiral for standing up, let the publicity department promote it again, and suppress the scandal of CP9. It is absolutely impossible for people to know that someone has mastered Pluton. Avoid the serious and take the light, let's guide the public opinion, and by the way, release the news of the public execution of the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates. Sengoku thought for a while. The time is set. 1 month later. From now on, keep an eye on the Whitebeard Pirates. This one negligence, the whole world will fall into war. The messenger hurriedly saluted. Yes. Sengoku looked at the messenger who went out and sighed and muttered in a low voice. Damn, I wanted to destroy the trial court, why is the Enies Lobby gone? Damn CP9, those idiots from the world government. It is obvious that Sengoku, as the marshal, cannot be ignorant of the use of such national-level war power, not only knowing but also tacitly acquiescing. After all, shooting at Enies Lobby is a proper challenge to the authority of the world government, even if it is a grand prize, it will cause a lot of trouble. After all, the flag of the world government is hung on the Tower of Justice, not the Marine. Advertisement. At this time, a copy of the image appeared on the desk of Morgan's in the news agency. The video of Luffy vs CP9 caught Morgan's eyes. Amazing. Morgan's waved his wings excitedly at this time, CP9 betrayed the world government. Pluton appeared in Enies Lobby. Marine believes in Monkey D. Luffy is against the gods. This is all big news. Send it out to me. They are the headlines these days. Morgan swayed excitedly from side to side. At this time, a member of the club rushed out. Master Morgans. People from the world government are looking for you. Wearing a white coat and a mask. Morgans turned to the members and asked. The member was stunned. Ah, no, it's just an ordinary official. Morgans laughed loudly. Has it reached such a serious situation? He is indeed the strongest man in the world according to legend. Leave him alone. We journalists are the trendsetters of the times. I will decide what to publish in the newspaper. Calculate. Members looked at the excited Morgans in bewilderment, not knowing what he was talking about. The following few days, CP9 judged that the world government claimed to be a god, brought Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons, wiped out Enies Lobby, and established the Akatsuki organization, which detonated the sea. All forces are watching the jokes of the world government one after another. This non-existing cipher pull with the permission to kill has been completely exposed. Many alliance countries condemned the world government (BECB) for sending CP9 to find Pluton blueprints without permission. Although CP9 has a license to kill, it is essentially an underground organization dealing with the shady world government. The so-called license to kill is nothing more than deceiving oneself and others. Once it was put on the table, the so-called permission to kill all became a joke. How many people were killed by CP9 before, and how many crimes have to be borne now? All members of CP9 put up rewards, even Khalifa who did not participate. The world government immediately stood up and drew a clear line with CP. The dead Spandam was naturally blamed for the first time, and all plans turned into actions taken by Spandam privately in order to get promoted. When many countries saw that the world government was so shameless, a warrior king of the Sand Sculpture Kingdom jumped out and suggested that the world government cancel the establishment of CP0. As a result, the news that the Sand Sculpture Kings were massacred by the Revolutionary Army was received the next day. The kings who are so talkative are all overwhelmed, almost forgetting that the Celestial Dragon's family is behind the world government. However, the prestige of the world government has been hit hard. Advertisement. On the contrary, Marine's reputation has been raised several levels due to Luffy's performance, and everyone praises Luffy as Garp's second. And all of this has nothing to do with Luffy at this time. He just quietly put a seed under the boulder and waited for it to germinate naturally. At this moment, Luffy and the Straw Hats are surrounding the melee. A strong keel is being laid on the Merry. Da da da. The knocking of a few hammers seemed to hit everyone's hearts. With a bang, everyone trembled. Bingshan got up and wiped the sweat from his forehead. It's done. Although I don't know why you did this, but now your ship has been completely replaced from the beginning to the end. Usopp stared nervously at Luffy and asked, how is it? What Luffy sees now is the circle of Rinnegan features. A delighted smile appeared on Luffy's face, and he gave everyone a thumbs up. It's okay. Usopp and others shouted excitedly, oh, Mei Li can change her body. That's right, after experiencing the philosophical experiment of the ship of Theseus, Luffy has been able to confirm that by changing all the wood of the ship one by one, he can successfully adopt the ship spirit to the new ship. At this time, everyone is cheering for the new life of Mei Li. And at this moment, a terrifying fist wind suddenly struck. Luffy's face changed, and his entire arm was wrapped around armament hockey in an instant. Bang! A terrifying air wave came from where the two fists met. Luffy flew upside down in an instant. Everyone looked back seriously. Who? Advertisement Chapter 188 The Wisdom of the Resourceful General Sengoku. Advertisement. Still too tender. Luffy. An old but angry voice came. With a bang, Luffy got up from the ruins. Damn it, it hurts. It hurts. Can't you change the way you say hello? Old man. Old man. B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Luffy is completely lazy to talk to this guy, although he has become quite a lover, but after all, he came from time travel and has no emotional foundation. If he calls him grandpa out of respect, then there is no problem. Calling grandpa Wong Luffy still feels strange of. Fortunately, the three of Luffy have been mischievous since childhood, and Garp doesn't care much about Luffy's name. Why do you have the time to come here? Isn't Whitebeard enough for you? Luffy rolled his eyes at Garp. UB****************, D, how dare you say that? Garp blew his beard and stared at the words. Blackbeard reported that the New World attacked the Whitebeard pirates and exchanged Shichibukai. Was it your idea? Luffy stretched out his hand and retorted sternly, impossible. How could I do such a crazy thing? Zoro. Garp nodded when he heard the words. I'll just say it, it seems that I went to beat Blackbeard for nothing. You came here just to ask for credit. Luffy, who got punched inexplicably, looked at this cynical guy helplessly. At the beginning, even the 100% bug skill of picking up swords with bare hands allowed him to break the weapon and crack it. This fighting instinct was outrageous to death. It's like that silly roe deer in Eagle Eye, who knelt down twice and didn't want to face him with an attack other than a knife. Maybe this is the romance between swordsmen. What? Wings are stiff. I can't visit my grandson yet. Garp choked strangely and Luffy was speechless for a while. Then he threw another document to Luffy, picked his nostrils and said, your little secretary's identity has been resolved. In addition, many pirates have seen 6 people named Pain on Magnetic Drum Island. Of course they seem to have died in Impel Down. Advertisement. Then Garp glared at Luffy. Don't think that you are the only one who is smart, and you don't know if you are being used by others. What does CP9 do? That is the intelligence leader. Anyone can find out what you did. And tell him pretend, I don't even know if I've been set up by others. At the beginning, Luffy still lamented that he was indeed Sengoku, who was known as the resourceful general, and that what he did could not hide it from him. However, the more Luffy listened, the more he felt something was wrong, and finally found out that Garp just thought that CP9 relied on his own intelligence advantage to deceive Luffy, and Sengoku killed the news. As for why not Garp? With this guy's ability to withdraw fruit, he absolutely can't think of so many complicated things. Apparently this guy was sent by Sengoku to remind himself to keep a low profile. Luffy looked at this smug guy and nodded. Got it. Got it. Is there anything else? You can withdraw without you. After all, the public execution date of the captains of the Whitebeard pirates is about to be set, right? Garp was taken aback when he heard the words, how do you know? Then he pinched his nose. You didn't hear anything just now. Everyone. I heard that, hello. Garp laughed. Anyway, it will be published in the newspaper in 2 days, it's no secret, it's just that Sengoku wants to take advantage of these few days to let the spies out. Luffy curled his lips when he heard the words. Waste time and troops, go back and tell Grandma Sengoku, if you have that time, it's better to keep an eye on Sabaody's land, Mermaid Island as Whitebeard's territory. Garp scratched his head in confusion. Why are you talking like your father now? I tell you, you better not let me find you running to hang out with your father, or I will break your leg. HMPH. Garp laughed and led a group of soldiers to leave, when suddenly Garp thought of something and turned around. Almost forgot. You are already eligible to go to naval headquarters to claim a warship. When you go back, you should meet Shichibukai Moria. Sengoku let you run to inform him about the meeting. After speaking, continue to walk towards the port. At this moment, Luffy could feel the happiness from his heart. His grandson was already on the same level as him, and he had done so many great things. Luffy looked at Garp's vigorous appearance and once again felt that he had chosen the Guy army to start the game correctly. You don't need to be chased around like a street mouse, the key is to be free. As for what was said on the internet in the previous life that Marine was a dog for celestial dragons. As Luffy, which celestial dragons dare to use Garp's grandson? After all, Garp talks about celestial dragons as rubbish every day, and using Luffy is purely to embarrass himself. Asking for flowers. At this time, Bingshan leaned forward to look at the melee and asked Luffy, since you have sent a warship, this ship. Advertisement. Luffy rubbed his chin. It seems that it is agreed to allocate a seastone warship. In the next time, I would trouble you to follow the steps of the previous refurbishment, and refit the melee, to adjust the functions and so on. By the way, help me find a boatman. After all, we don't even have a boatman on board now. Luffy said to Bingshan with a smile. After explaining the iceberg, Luffy directly led the girls to run to Hype, passing by the 7 water capitals of the water gods. The streets were as clean as if they had been washed, giving people a feeling of being completely new. So I hope you can replace me as the boatman on his ship, help me see the true face of this man, and decide whether to use the Pluton blueprint to fight him. I cared a lot about what Monkey D. Luffy said that night. I don't know if he's good or bad for the world, but there's no doubt he's going to make a big difference in the world. He has the terrifying power to destroy Enies Lobby in one blow. Although it is not known whether that is the Pluton awakened by Nico Robin, it is certain that he has a terrifying weapon comparable to Pluton. Frankie laughed twice, put his palms together and made a pause. Now everyone knows that the Pluton blueprint was taken by the Akatsuki organization, and the world government has given up looking for the Pluton blueprint from us, so I have a request, Frankie. Bingshan was silent for a long time and said. And at night, Bingshan found his junior brother Frankie. Supper. Then let me remodel his ship first. I feel like you're playing tricks on me, but I have no proof. Frankie was silent for a long time. What if you don't need it? Bingshan said to Frankie with a serious face. Although I don't know how he did it, I can be sure that the so-called Akatsuki organization is just a puppet of Monkey D. Luffy. Then burn it. He throws Akatsuki's newspaper in front of Frankie. Supper. Frankie posed a pause. You have a time to beg me with your elm head. Advertisement Chapter 189 Correct Usage of Door Fruit. Advertisement. Congratulations to the third host, Wang Quan, the Red King, Zhou Fangzhen, who has reached 100% restoration. Zhou Fangzhen template has expired. Skills are being randomly selected. Congratulations on getting the skill attack and fire control, the power held by the Red King, which can manipulate violent flames. Favorites +1. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations on getting the title, Pretend Criminal. Wearing the title can make the host pull hatred +1 close black lens bracket. Congratulations on getting the title, Initiative of Power, passively increases the cultivation speed of the sending party by 1. Open black lens bracket host, Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket organization, Shao close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket current loading template, None close black lens bracket. Equipment. Samahata, Mizunohu expired, Desert Eagle, Bunny Girl suit, Kanai 1 set, Action CD, Goblin Horn, DVD player. Talent skills. 100% being caught empty-handed immediately, Blood Follower limit Rinnegan, Code God Power, 513, Hacker ability, Fire Control Technique. Bond 1. Circa C. IQ +10 when forming a team. Open black lens bracket achievement points, 24,537 close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket favorites, 14 close black lens bracket. Title. Famous all over the world, I am God, Pretend Criminal. Leaving from Enies Lobby, 4 days passed in a flash. With the disappearance of the nuclear bomb template, Luffy finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there is no skill to draw the Sword of Damocles. The feeling of having a nuclear bomb hanging over your head is really uncomfortable. I don't have to be afraid of death, but if I can't guarantee it, one day this thing will fall and kill all my teammates. And what pleased Luffy the most was the title of Innovative Power. He never thought that it would be beneficial to attack the prestige of the world government on a whim. Training speed +1, although it is not directly reflected in the improvement of combat power, but this subtle passivity is not weaker than a god-level skill, the key is that it does not need to occupy the title position. The thing that left Luffy speechless the most was the title of Pretender. Isn't this just a halo of ridicule, the kind that makes people want to beat themselves up? System, can this title be worn by the Avatar? Luffy asked in a flash of inspiration. Open black lens bracket ding dong, it's okay, close black lens bracket. Shao Ai's retarded voice replied. Luffy's eyes lit up, and sure enough, I said that I was pretending to be a clone of Pain. What's in the way of my King Luffy? This is obviously the exclusive aura of Six Paths Pain. Advertisement. Pair it with Road Oddity of the World. With the thought of Luffy, the title was loaded on Luffy. Seeing that there was no one around, Luffy opened an air door, and Luffy walked out from the fruit space. Luffy looked over and really had the urge to punch him. Of course, this may also be the reason why Luffy was unhappy with this guy. Then Lu Chi was sent back to the space of the fruit of the door. This god-level fruit, which was titled by Oda because it is too buggy, is really convenient to use. It's a pity that Blueno's direction and degree are too weak. However, the fruit of the door is still the biggest harvest of the trip to Enies Lobby. In Luffy's view, isn't this door fruit the arbitrary door of Doraemon? You must know that the mirror fruit can freely travel through the mirror world in the mirror to the mirror that it has touched. It is impossible that the door fruit cannot do it. As long as I find a way to continue to develop the door-to-door fruit of the animal path, and reach the development level of Charlotte Tebray's mirror fruit, then I can link to any location on the Melee, including Sky Island. This kind of terrorist ability that can get support at any time is the biggest strategic resource of the fruit of the door. It turns out that with such a powerful ability, Blueno developed it abruptly into a waste fruit that assassinates and opens the door, which is outrageous. If you further develop and awaken the door fruit, to achieve the effect of opening the door and connecting the door world at will. In this way, the fruit of the door can achieve a similar effect to the bug-level skill Kamui used by Obito next door. In conjunction with Doraemon's low-end arbitrary door, it can be called a god-level skill with Rinnegan. When doing things, Luffy hides in the door world to control Six Paths Pain, and outside Six Paths Pain can roam freely. If he can't beat him, he pulls to the door world and fights in groups. This cooperation is exciting just thinking about it. In contrast, the title and skills obtained by the template become dispensable. But something is better than nothing. It is this fire control technique. The original Sword of Damocles is gone. Can this skill be used as a reward alone? Luffy sneered inwardly. At this time Sanji and Robin came from outside the door. By the way, Luffy's grandpa is really fast and decisive. Sanji said to Robin with a smile, then lit the lighter and prepared to light a cigarette. Robin on the side nodded. It's not like an ordinary person. And Luffy's eyes lit up when he saw the flame of the lighter, and saw that he hooked his hand, and the flame on the lighter instantly appeared on his finger. Advertisement. I'm stupid. Luffy played with the flame in his hand with a shocked expression, as this AF ******* G card bug. Sanji looked at his extinguished lighter without knowing why. Hey, Luffy, when did you learn magic? As he spoke, he lit a cigarette with a flame on Luffy's finger. Teach me quickly. I feel that this trick will definitely win the hearts of many beautiful girls. Go, go, go. Luffy waved his hand in disgust, then looked excitedly at the flame in his hand. Without the superpower of the Sword of Damocles, I can still use fire control. This reminds Luffy of the complaints made by netizens when the real name of Nika fruit was revealed in the previous life. Mera fruit. Dogs won't eat it. Thinking of this, Luffy showed an evil smile on his face. With this ability, he can't beat Ace. He can just find a piece of tofu and kill him. At this moment, Robin dragged his chin and looked at Luffy with an expression full of hidden love. Sanji gave Luffy a disdainful look. Don't teach me. Nami-san and others are swimming in the swimming pool behind the villa. I'm going to prepare coffee. Nami sauce, BB sauce, here I come. Luffy said suddenly. Grandma Keluo is also there. The fire of desire in Sanji's heart was instantly extinguished by the burly figure of Granny Keluo, the mermaid. He squatted in the corner and muttered as if 4.3 was burned out. Impossible. I don't admit that it's a mermaid. Robin on the side laughed happily. After experiencing the Enies Lobby incident this time, she was completely rescued from the darkness. The next day, Bingshan led the crowd to the remodeled Melee. A huge white cloth covered the entire ship. This is the new ship you want. Bingshan pointed to the huge monster not far away and said with a smile. In addition, the boatman has also prepared for you. Frankie. Bingberg shouted. Supper. With a shout, Frankie appeared under the canvas in his underwear and pausing. The straw hats are covered with black lines. Nami. Is this pervert? Chopper. Huh, is this pervert? Everyone. Pervert. Advertisement Chapter 190 Whitebeard's Counterattack, a big update on the Melee, set sail. Advertisement. Marshal Sengoku. The fleet heading for New World has been completely defeated. A messenger broke into Sengoku's office anxiously. Whitebeard's large fleet has also begun to mobilize frequently. What? Sengoku slammed the table, his face turning livid. New World is an indelible scar for Marine, and the four emperors jointly targeted Marine, so Marine had to withdraw from the control of New World. It even becomes extremely difficult for Marine to sail New World, because unlike Marine chasing pirates in the first half of Grand Line, New World pirates are not afraid of Marine's prestige at all, and will even take the initiative to attack Marine when they encounter it. This has also led to the fact that a general who does not have the strength of Vice Admiral to sail in New World is undoubtedly looking for a dead end, and even a team led by Vice Admiral will often be wiped out in New World by encountering some big pirates. This is why Sengoku firmly formulated the Summit War plan. Only when Marine has his own territory in New World can he feel afraid of these lawless pirates. It's a pity that the entire New World has basically been completely out of the control of the Marine or the world government before, and even Admiral dared not approach the base camp of the four emperors alone. Whitebeard. Four emperors. Sengoku crushed the cup in his hand angrily. I will order all New World fleets to withdraw. Fight the next war with all your strength. The communicator shouted loudly and retreated quickly. Sengoku handed the report to the goat next to him, with a look of anger in his eyes. This time we must let Marine rule the new world. And at this time on the melee, Chopper and Usopp are rolling on the pretend grass. After the transformation of Iceberg and Frankie, it is not surprising that the Merry is basically the same as the Sunny in the plot. The only difference is probably that the original lion's head is still the same as the sheep's head of the Merry. What pleased Luffy the most was that he could clearly perceive that the ship elves on the Merry were still sleeping and growing. It's inherited. Satisfied, Luffy sat on the sheep's head of the Merry, and nodded as she watched the thriving ship elf. The next step is to install a seastone chassis that can run on the comm belt on the melee when going to naval headquarters. The most important thing is how to feed Melee with a suitable devil fruit. That's right, Luffy's plan all along is to give Melee some devil fruit. As we all know, Vegapunk's technology is enough to eat devil fruit for items. Advertisement. Mr. Five's RPG, which ate the dachshund fruit, and Spandam's sword named Van Goofried, which ate the elephant fruit, both belong to this category. That sword is still in Hell Road Kaku's hand at this time. It is naturally impossible for Luffy, who was a pirate before, to master this secret technology. However, at this time, Luffy, as a marine, finds Kizaru, who is in charge of the Marine Science Force, and it seems that there is no problem. The only thing to worry about is whether the melee will sink to the bottom of the sea if it eats the devil fruit. After all demon fruit power can't swim. If the Merry, as a ship, can't get into the water, it will be a pain in the A. However, Luffy is very much looking forward to the transformation of Merry, who owns the ship elf, after eating devil fruit. Presumably, Merry will be able to communicate with everyone normally at that time. At this time, the Merry was divided into upper, middle and lower floors. The uppermost deck includes Nami's orange tree, lawn, and swing for everyone's entertainment. There are also 3 functional rooms. One is the measurement room where Nami determines the navigation route, and the other is the book that stores Robin's books and various navigation materials. The other is a large bathroom to help everyone relax and decompress. The second floor is where everyone lives and eats. The original Merry had only one bedroom, a kitchen, and a store room. Except for Nami, Vivi, Robin, Luffy and others can only squeeze in the storage room on the floor. Now under the strong request of Luffy, the middle floor of the Merry has a female dormitory with a big bed for the girls, a dormitory for Zoro, Sanji and others, 2 temporary guest rooms, and Luffy's own luxury captain's bedroom. The gigantic bed in the captain's bedroom proves that Luffy's mind is not so pure. In addition to the living room, the dining room and the kitchen are separated separately, and the dining room is surrounded by a viewing fish pond made of transparent glass. The separate health room also made Chopper jump back and forth excitedly for half a day. The third floor is a bar with a large area and a gym room. The energy room, soldier dock system, and weapon system are also in this compartment. The original sloop also became a more maneuverable ketch. There are countless novel gadgets. Everyone looked around excitedly, even Usopp fell in love with the big ship after Luffy told him that the Merry's ship spirit had moved. Supper. Long live Frankie. Advertisement. Usopp and Chopper pose behind Frankie. This way we even have a boatman. Long live. The crowd cheered excitedly on the boat. Actually Iceberg is the spy who asked me to monitor Weather Monkey D. Luffy will abuse his power. Supper. At this time, Khalifa once again appeared on the sleeping deck in business attire. She was writing and drawing with a notebook and a pen. Frankie was moved and burst into tears. Ah. Is this a man? Huh. Luffy laughed indifferently. Since this is the case, use your eyes to observe the changes in the future world. Everyone. Sanji held the drink and shouted behind him. Oh, Khalifa-chan who is working hard is so charming. The above are the relevant orders issued by the ministry. Sure enough, it's pervert. On the way, we passed through the sea area of the Devil's Triangle, and carried out the order issued by Vice Admiral Garp to rule the 7 warlords of the Sea Moonlight Moria. According to the report from the headquarters, his ship 10 frequently haunted the 10 areas. You are sexual harassment. Khalifa kicked at Sanji. Luffy Vice Admiral, the next island will go to the Fishman Island according to the record pointer. Secondly, we will arrive at the Sabaody Archipelago, which is the closest to naval headquarters, and go to naval headquarters through special currents. After speaking, Khalifa pushed his glasses on the tip of his nose. Everyone. Frankie shouted excitedly standing on his dream boat. Number 223. Say it. Advertisement Chapter 191 Imprisoned Ace, Whitebeard appears in Sabaody. Advertisement. The sea fell into the calm before the storm. After 3 consecutive days in the newspapers, it was reported that the Akatsuki organization and Pluden had returned to their usual routine. On the contrary, Luffy showed his face on today's newspaper, and the photo of confronting his avatar really attracted a wave of fans for him. Chopper and Usopp are swinging on the lawn swing. Nami, Vivi and others wore bathing suits and sunbathed under the orange trees, which was a treatment that they could not enjoy on the old-fashioned Merry. Sanji is preparing food in the kitchen with a nympho face. The new Meili's kitchen, food storage room, and bar are all a chef's paradise for him. Especially after learning the Chinese cuisine taught by Luffy, Sanji's dream is to make shiny dishes. Zoro was crazily rolling the iron in the fitness room on the 3rd floor. For some reason, he felt that his strength had improved a lot after starting from the capital of 7 waters. At this time, he had vaguely felt the feeling of hockey mentioned by Luffy. He didn't know that this was the effect of the passive title, Power Bonus. Khalifa passes Zoro with an iced Coke. You're still 30 minutes from your workout. Zoro was taken aback by Khalifa's serious report, and put the several-ton barbell on the ground and looked at Khalifa, leaving speechlessly. There is another troublesome woman. On the deck, Luffy was lying on the sun. Observation Haki enveloped Nami and others doing daily exercise with knowledge. Daily exercise. Khalifa, Coke. Just as Luffy yelled out, a glass of iced Coke was handed to Luffy. Hi, I'm ready. Khalifa pushed his glasses and said. Luffy is full of happy results. If you want to talk about who is the most suitable secretary in the pirate world, it must be Khalifa. This ability to guess the boss's mind is called a bug. Having Khalifa as a secretary can definitely serve people comfortably. The key is that Yuji's natural and dull personality coupled with her outstanding appearance is really seductive. What am I talking about? There is no future for CP9 following you guys. The world government is a bunch of tricks to kill donkeys. Knowing that the world government has so much black material, even if I don't take action, you will have nothing to do with it. Backquote. Advertisement. Luffy drank a glass of iced Coke comfortably and said. Khalifa pushed his glasses and didn't speak, and didn't refute what Luffy said. Hey, how long has it been since Khalifa came to the legendary fog of the Devil's Triangle? Nami, who was basking in the sun, waved at Khalifa and asked, when I hear this name, I feel very unlucky, maybe there are ghosts or something. After asking, Nami felt a sudden chill. Chopper fell off the swing with a thud. Are there still ghosts? Luffy threatened Chopper with a ghostly look. There is a talking skeleton with no flesh on it, and it asks you faintly, can I take a look at it for a while? The perverted skeleton of 7. Yeah, scary. Chopper hid behind Usopp in fright. At this time, Zoro walked out of the cabin with his upper body naked and sweating. What's so scary about that thing? Doesn't Luffy still have 6 half-dead guys? Everyone. Damn it, it's even more terrifying. Smoker, who was on the other route, was frowning at Luffy's report. Damn it, a marine soldier is a marine soldier. As long as the marine organization is still in love, there is a limit to what a colonel can do if he wants to go his own way. What we need now is status. After the Enies Lobby incident, that B************** D Luffy has nowhere to go. We're just getting started. Tashigi on the side comforted. But, is it Luffy? Smoker grabbed the newspaper. I bet my dignity and stand on the same stage as him in New World. On Baltigo, the Isle of White Clay. Monkey Long fell into deep thought while holding the newspaper. Luffy, does this have anything to do with you? Vice Admiral. Then there was a smile on Long's face. Live according to your own wishes, Luffy. Times sometimes bring all kinds of accidents and enthusiasm. Let's see the world clearly, and one day we will meet again. And on top of the Sabaody archipelago. Outside of Tree Island 13 in Outlaw Lands. Fire punch. A huge pillar of fire shot in one direction. Advertisement. Hey, don't destroy. Are you trying to destroy the old man's shelter? With a swipe of the knife, the huge fiery fist was shattered. How can I say that I was also the deputy captain on your father's ship, so can't I respect the old and love the young? Rayleigh laughed out loud when he saw this, and easily suppressed Ace with a long knife in one hand. Hoo la la la. Rayleigh, Lousy's son is under your care. Shut up. There's only one father for me, and that's Whitebeard. 2 flaming spears shot towards Rayleigh, and Ace himself picked up Haki and rushed towards Rayleigh. He knew that if he didn't defeat this man, he would never return to his father's side. Ace shouted in dissatisfaction, I want to go back to daddy. My brother is still waiting for me to save. He obviously looks so old, but his strength is outrageously strong. It can only be said that he is the right wrist of One Piece. What are you kidding? Daddy is the strongest man in the world. Just a marine. Ace looked at Rayleigh with some breathlessness. Soon Ace was knocked to the ground by Rayleigh. Rayleigh laughed twice. You'd better accompany me back obediently. But this is not the time to struggle with Rayleigh's identity. I have no choice but to return to my father's side no matter what. I vow to follow my father to the front line. Suddenly Rayleigh frowned, and saw a huge monster rising from the sea not far away. Damn it, God doesn't know fire. Even if his strength is regressed, he is still a man who can easily fight against Admiral. Ace at the cadre level is still far behind. Rayleigh's face suddenly changed. He never imagined that Luffy would deliver himself to Rayleigh. The clown didn't know what he said to Rayleigh, and the old man refused to let himself go. The figure of Pluten Rayleigh came out of the flames with a knife on his shoulder, and a pot of liquor in his hand. You have to know. Rayleigh glanced at the newspaper that made Ace so excited. The date of the public execution of the captain of the Grand Fleet has been confirmed in 28 days. What marine is targeting this time depends on the strength of the Whitebeard pirates. It is not enough to confront them head on at naval headquarters. Whitebeard is looking for death. For the sake of the captain, should I let you stay here for a while longer? Whitebeard. Advertisement Chapter 192 Members of our Atmosphere Group. Chase. Advertisement. Hey, what's floating in the sea? Zoro's voice came from the speakers in the lookout room. Nani. Everyone turned their heads and looked over, and a wine barrel appeared in everyone's eyes. There is also a flag on the same. On it was written the words in front of the sea god's imperial treasure. Usopp and Chopper looked at the barrel excitedly. Is there any treasure in it? Stupid, it's just something to store wine or preserve food. Nami saw the flag on the barrel and said, huh, why, that's all you know. Usopp and Chopper said disappointedly. This thing is a flow bottle. It should be common sense that someone dedicated it to the patron saint of the sea in order to pray for a smooth sailing. You guys know 10 points. Everyone lost interest when they heard the words, only Zoro laughed and said, since we have caught it, let's drink it. Usopp broke out in a cold sweat. Idiot. You will be damned. Nami said with a smile. You can also drink after praying. Robin added on the side. That's right, you just need to add it after drinking it. Zoro said dismissively. What god? I won't pray to God. Stupid, isn't there a god on our ship? Nami-007 gave Zoro a contemptuous look. It dawned on Usopp. Then he pulled Chopper and Nami to kneel in front of Luffy devoutly. Ah, Kami-sama, we are going to drink your wine, bless us. Fly, road, Zoro. Are you idiots? After praying, Nami ran to the wine barrel excitedly. It is said that the wine washed by the waves is particularly sweet. Oh, you really should taste it. Frankie stepped forward and turned his arm into a chainsaw to cut open the wine barrel. Advertisement. Suddenly there was a bang, and a firework shot straight into the sky. Red fireworks bloomed in the sky, and suddenly a blood-red light filled the sky. Everyone was startled by the sudden explosion. What's wrong? At this time, Khalifa pushed his glasses and walked up. According to the information collected by CP9 before, this should be a trick used by Moria to target certain pirates. Huh, that's 7 warlords of the sea. Everyone looked at Khalifa strangely. Khalifa nodded, and told everyone about the Devil's Triangle Sea area and some information and legends about Moria. BEBD, Luffy nodded in satisfaction, and it was right to accept Khalifa. After all, Khalifa, who came from a world government spy agency, knows a lot of information that ordinary people don't know. But I heard that this sea area is often haunted. Khalifa pushed his glasses and said. Haunted, haunted. The two best friends, Usopp and Nami, shrank their heads in fear. Chopper even hugged Zoro's thigh directly. Hey, don't worry, there are gods protecting us on board. Usopp shouted excitedly, and then he and Nami Chopper knelt down in front of Luffy again. Ah, Kami-sama, bless us. Amen. Luffy. At this time, the sky gradually became gloomy, and the dense buildings enveloped the melee. Sanji lit a match and put it under his face. Listen, Usopp, it is said that more than 100 ships disappear here every year, and there are ghost ships carrying the dead wandering around. The firelight projected by the match made Sanji's face particularly horrifying. Usopp screamed and yelled. Stop it. Ah, at this time, a ghost wearing yellow clothes and holding a mallet ran past Sanji quickly under the reflection of the thick fog. Ha ha, ha ha, the happy voice spread to everyone's ears like a ghost. Sanji. Ah 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 ah, ghost ah ah, Sanji yelled back 3 feet. Nami and Bibi were even more frightened and hugged Luffy directly. Advertisement. Luffy, enjoying Wen Yu's arms, laughed. It's not a ghost, it's our partner, right? Mei Li. Merry. Everyone looked at the yellow ghost running around excitedly on the deck in bewilderment. Frankie also looked thoughtfully at the thick fog around him at this time. Sure enough, I said it looked so familiar, it turned out to be a ship elf. Boat spirit. Everyone looked at the yellow-clothed ghost in unison. The appearance of the ship spirit is often accompanied by heavy fog. He will wear the crew's raincoat and hold a mallet to remind the crew when they are in danger. I didn't expect to see it. Frankie explained to the crowd. Usopp burst into tears when he heard the words, is it really you? Mei Li, woo woo woo. As he said that, he wanted to rush over to hug Mei Li, but passed through her body. Suck. Brook took a sip of coffee and drifted away slowly. But even so, everyone was still relieved to see the happy ship spirit. After all, when the melee was refitted, even though Luffy said that the ship spirit was inherited, they only thought that Luffy was comforting them. Can't keep up with the increasingly violent Grand Line weather. And at this moment, except for Robin, Luffy, and Khalifa, everyone's hairs stood on end in fright. It's appeared. A ghost ship. The broken hull and dilapidated fort gave the ghost ship a strange atmosphere. Everyone looked around nervously, and suddenly found a huge ship floating from behind. So ga, then don't show up. Usopp hurriedly avoided the boat elf for fear of knocking her down. Yo ho ho ho, yo ho ho, ho ho. The prelude to Binks, wine keeps ringing aboard the ghost ship. An elegant and ethereal voice came from behind. Luffy was the first to come back to his senses. Yaoshi. Little ones. The members of our atmosphere team have appeared. Catch up. Everyone. Impossible, but it seems that the happy boat elves can't see everyone, they just run back and forth on the boat and play on their own. Yo ho ho ho, yo ho ho, ho ho. After Luffy's coquettish operation, the ship spirit can already show itself in front of everyone with the help of thick fog. An afro-headed skeleton with a cane was standing on the fence, humming a beautiful tune and drifting past under the gaze of everyone. Holding a broken coffee cup in his hand, he stared at the crowd with empty eyes and sang a cappella. Binks, fine wine, I'll send it here. Idiot, the ship spirit usually has no entity, only when the ship is in danger, the ship spirit will appear to remind the crew to repair the ship. Luffy rolled his eyes at Usopp, otherwise it will consume soul energy. Advertisement Chapter 193 Invitation from Brook, Laboon. Advertisement. Hey, there's a lottery next to see who gets on that boat with Luffy. Zoro said to everyone holding a stick. Nani, Usopp, Nami and others immediately objected. Usopp. Why, whoever wants to go can't. Nami. That's right. Chopper. That's right, that's right. Zoro looked at them like a fool. Are you sure? A few rookies turned their heads and looked. Luffy, Robin, Sanji, Frankie, and Khalifa stood on the fence, and they were about to jump on the ghost ship. And Zoro also planned to follow up with a knife, and after the shock, all that was left was the excitement of adventure. Nami and others immediately sat down on the ground and burst into tears. It really is more dangerous to stay on the boat, is it? As expected, Nami and Sanji were the lucky ones to board the boat. On board the boat, Nami lay on the boat with trembling legs, tears in her eyes. Why me? It's really scary. Nami-san, are you still okay? Do you want me to carry you up? Sanji yelled ahead. Luffy directly stretched his arms around Nami's waist and lifted her up from the boat. Don't ah. Startled, Nami screamed and was carried to the deck by Luffy. What was even more frightening was that when he opened his eyes, Brook was staring at Nami, who was limp on the ground. Nami's eyes widened, pupils dilated. Help. The scream spread directly throughout the Magic Triangle Sea area. Good morning, yo-ho-ho-ho. I was really rude just now, but I didn't say hello when we met. I was really shocked. I don't know how many years, but I'm finally alive. In addition to the ghost ship, here is also a ghost ship. It's really scary. Yes, come on, you're welcome, come and sit inside, let's have a good chat. Brook talked on and on like a chatterbox. The originally terrifying atmosphere was washed away by his series of nagging in an instant. Nami, Sanji, Luffy, it's so long-winded. At this time, Brook saw Nami in a sexy dress. Oh, what a beautiful lady, beautiful. Nami's heart tightened, and she quickly took a step back in horror. No, where is it? As soon as I see a beautiful woman's eyes, my eyes will straighten, although I don't have eyes. Advertisement. Brook said a cold joke that only he himself appreciated, then put the old coffee cup and crutches aside, carefully tidied up his clothes, and solemnly walked up to Nami. Fat time, can I have a look? Quote. Nami. Jong dish convex. Die. The furious Nami directly punched Brook down, and a big bag opened on the body that was originally full of bones at a speed visible to the naked eye. Amazing. It hurts to the bone. Yo-ho-ho, although I only have bones in my whole body. Nami turned into a demon and roared madly. Shut up. Sanji looked at Brook with a look of surprise. Amazing. Why can you pack bags even though you are a bone? Are you really shitting? Luffy asked with a serious face. Sanji. Za. There are more questions worth asking. Bolok picked up his coffee cup again and replied solemnly. I shit. Sanji sad face. Za. Is there something wrong with you too? Luffy suddenly burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, you are really interesting. Luffy can feel that Brook's body is very strange, especially the head seems to be connected to a strange space, which is likely to be the legendary land of Hell. The so-called pure land of the pirate world. Luffy often thinks that one day I can get an Orochimaru template, and it will be fun to summon guys like Roger and Rocks with impure world reincarnation. Be my partner. Luffy stepped forward and solemnly said. Brook said seriously. Yes. Nami, Sanji, 0. No. Luffy burst out laughing at the amusing Brook. Under the desperate eyes of Sanji and Nami, Luffy jumped back onto the Merry with Brook directly. Yo-ho-ho-ho, I'm Brook with dead bones. Brook politely took off his hat and greeted everyone. I boil. Usopp was scared out of his wits. Mom, I'm dreaming. Zoro was so frightened that he pulled out the knife directly, and everyone roared in unison. Are you kidding me? What the hell is this? Luffy. Yo-ho-ho-ho-ho-ho, so fierce. Brook said while standing at 45 degrees. Luffy watched everyone's reaction with interest. It's fun, this is the Atmosphere Group musicians on our ship. Brook walked up to Vivi, Robin, and Khalifa one by one. This beautiful lady, Fatty, let me have a look. Khalifa. You are sexual harassment. Then Brook returned to the men with his head full of bags. All the men deserve it. Advertisement. When Luffy watched One Piece in his previous life, in addition to saving Nami and talking to Mei Lee, there was also an extremely impressive scene of tears. Brook recalled that when he died, all his partners played a song of Binks, wine together, and finally Brook was lonely. The decades spent adrift on a dilapidated pirate ship. Luffy was touched by the life and death friendship and century-old sense of loss. Naturally, the purpose of coming to the Devil's Triangle this time is to bring Brook back to the crew. After all, Brook is a good partner both in terms of strength and personality. And Brook's identity also involves a 4 Emperors level powerhouse in the world of pirates, Beloric Redfield. The aloof Red Earl who is said to be able to compete with the Roger Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates by himself is a senior fan of Brook. Brook, who hadn't seen a living person for decades, talked excitedly with everyone. Because I'm a gentleman, I like the leisure time while waiting for my meal. Dinner. Yeah. Brook yelled excitedly, holding the fork. Everyone. Gentleman fart. Afterwards, Brook told everyone that he had eaten the underworld fruit because he couldn't find his body, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. What? It turned out to be devil fruit. It would be easier to accept if it was devil fruit. Waiting for Sanji to finish the meal and put it on the table. At this time, Brook's tone became low. I haven't eaten serious food for many years. Although my heart is more satisfied than my stomach, Brook suddenly turned to Robin and asked, Miss, your share seems to be more than mine, can you change it? Sanji demonic. *Lu. There's too much in the pot. Eat your own. After the meal, Luffy formally invited Brook again, be my partner. However, at this time Brook did not immediately agree, but a clear sense of disappointment came out. Although I really want to agree, I am sorry that I refuse. At this time, Zoro and the others looked at Brook in surprise. After a short period of contact, everyone already knew that this is an unlucky joker and not some evil spirit, so they didn't resist Luffy's invitation so much. But no one expected that Luffy would refuse. Luffy was not discouraged at all when he heard the words, but smiled and said, "Is it because of the shadow?" Brook looked at Luffy in surprise. "How do you know?" Luffy didn't answer directly, but smiled and said to Brook, "Laboon, but it's still waiting for you at Twin Point." At this time, even Zoro, Nami, and Usopp widened their eyes and said in surprise, "Nani?" And at this moment, the melee shook violently, and a ghost watched everyone on board through the deck. Ghost. Knife. Advertisement.